tornado. San Antonio running backs Mike Saunders and Troy Mills. Saunders is currently 4th in the league in rushing, but it's as a receiver out of the backfield where he's been most effective lately. His season totals over 500 yards receiving and 4 touchdown catches. Mills has played in just 5 games since returning from an NFL tryout, but he's already gained almost 350 yards and scored 6 touchdowns. He's averaging 5 yards per carry. So the Texas Tornadoes touchdown is in Ottawa today. The scoring points has not been a problem for Case Stevenson's team as of late. In fact, in the last 2 weeks, the Texans defense has scored 4 touchdowns, including 2 by linebacker Maurice Miller, as well as place kicker Roman Anderson. He's made 89% of his field goals, best in the league. Jim Gilstrap's Ottawa Rough Riders have yet to beat a team from the South Division this year. They are last in the league in points scored. So the return of offensive catalyst Michael Richardson may be just what the doctor ordered. He's the key to the Ottawa ground attack. Richardson and receiver Odessa Turner, they'll heat it up today.
CFL Live, today's game from Frank Clair Stadium. The San Antonio Texans and the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the CFL Live on TSN. I'm Darren Detition. It's our pleasure to have you along with us this afternoon for the San Antonio Texans and the Ottawa Rough Riders. You know, their season was almost doomed from the start. When Danny Barrett went down, so did the Rough Riders' chances. But amongst the rather dark clouds, there might be a silver lining in the form of Andre Ware. He is the team's quarterback of the future, and at 2-11, they can't focus on the past. As for the San Antonio Texans, this is a fine football team with arguably the best running tandem in the league. The combination of Mike Saunders and Troy Mills have scored 17 touchdowns. They've rushed for more than 1,100 yards. They can catch the ball out of the backfield and throw in bruising fullback Tony Burst, and they are definitely formidable. The Rough Riders will have to stop the run today and generate their own ground game with the return of Michael Richardson. For their thoughts on the contest, let's go to John and Leaf at Frank Clair Stadium. Gentlemen.
Darren, it's been 16 seasons since the Ottawa Rough Riders had a winning year, and in that time they've used over 40 quarterbacks. The question today is whether or not Andre Ware might finally be the solution.
Johnny sure has all the tools. I mean, he's got terrific athletic ability and an exceptionally strong arm. But until you give him some playing time, you're really not sure if he's going to be your quarterback of the future. I know one thing, though. In his days at the University of Houston, when he was the Heisman Trophy winner, he did a lot of things well, and maybe he can do it here in Ottawa.
David Archer and the Texans have put together some great offensive numbers. Defense has been superb the last couple of weeks, so where is the weakness?
I'm not sure there is a weakness on this team. You know, they've built the club nicely. They've gotten it better and better every week. Maybe one area that's a little weak is the receiving core, but with such a strong running game, maybe it doesn't matter that much.
Ottawa Rough Riders not quite out of the playoffs yet, but hopes are fading with a magic number standing at 2, Darren.
Thanks very much, gentlemen. On now to our game story, which will we be following during the course of the contest. David Archer having a great season. 16 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. He's the team's general. The Texans defense, they're the foot soldiers. They're calling themselves the bounty hunters. In the last 2 games, they've created 13 turnovers. The key for success for Ottawa, the play of Ray Alexander and Odessa Turner, and Andre Ware has got to get them the ball. Let's go to Frank Clair Stadium for the opening kickoff as we join Leaf and John. Guys.
And it's an absolutely perfect afternoon in Ottawa as we get set for Wayne Lamley's kickoff to get this football afternoon underway. Deep for the San Antonio Texans, David Lucas and Ken Wilhites. And Case Stevenson has put together 4 wins in a row for his Texans in his 3rd year of coaching in the Canadian Football League.
Boy, he's done a nice job building this team, though. They haven't signed a lot of high-profile free agents. They've just gone out and been able to find their own players and really molded a nice group.
We're underway with David Lucas on the return for the Texans. A marker down in the very first play. And he stopped out near the 40-yard line.
Wayne Lamley's 57-yard kickoff taken by Lucas.
Jim Gilstrap and the Ottawa Rough Riders have had a season of frustration so far as Lucas heads to the sidelines. Gilstrap, the 27th head coach in the history of the Ottawa Rough Riders. It's kind of been one a year for the last 5 or 6 seasons.
Well, I asked Jim anything pleasing about this year, and it's tough when you're 2-11, but he said the fact that my team has hung together, there hasn't been a lot of finger pointing, which you usually find on a team that's not winning any games. He said those were the most pleasing things for me, and how my veterans have helped the younger guys like Lloyd Lewis and Kenny Abreu.
Penalty, blocking, an illegal block against San Antonio, setting the Texans up at the 20. And this is Troy Mills out across the 30-yard line. Quarterback David Archer has missed 3 games and still stands with the top passers in the league. He has won 4 in a row. Good protection up front from a solid offensive line with Mike Kiselak at center. And then 4 productive receivers, Wise and Taylor outside. The great running game with Mike Saunders and Troy Mills. And it up for a first down at the Texans 31. Little play action fake as Archer goes to throw. He's on target for Troy Mills. Dragged down from behind by Remy Trudell. 24 yards the gain. Veteran Lloyd Lewis and John Kropke remain the key to the Ottawa defense up front. The Riders are happy to have Ray Bernard back in the middle with Charlie Clemens and Dwayne Knight. The secondary has been set for most of the season with Martin Trudell and Young in the middle.
John, I don't think there's any question this is the best Ottawa defense that they've put on the field this year, and they're going to get a good test. San Antonio on their first 2 offensive plays, perfect execution.
Back-to-back first downs. This is Saunders trying the right side, and he's around the corner. Tripped up at about the 52-yard line, or the 48-yard line, by Brett Young. Saunders averages 4.7 yards a carry. He has 10 touchdowns in total so far this season, 6 rushing and 4 receiving.
He's done a good job running the football, and of course last year well over 1,000 yards with Saskatchewan, but I think his biggest attribute and what he gives this offense the most is his pass catching ability, and you know that's where to me he is the biggest threat on this team.
Saunders comes up a half a yard shy of the first down. The ball spotted at the Ottawa 45 as Archer hands off to Saunders. Slowed momentarily, but he'll have enough for the first down. Charlie Clemens up from his linebacking spot to make the tackle on Mike Saunders that time.
Now, one of the things Ottawa really has to do, I know Darren talked about it in the opening in the studio show, is Ottawa has to stop the run, not control the run. They have to stop San Antonio's running today, and guys like Charlie Clemens and Ray Bernard in the middle, Dwayne Knight, I mean, the pressure is really on those linebackers to come up and fill quickly.
Another Texans first down inside the 45, and this is Troy Mills trying to turn the corner, grabbed by Lloyd Lewis. Up around the shoulder pads, it'll be second down.
What Ottawa is going to do on first down to try and nullify that running game of San Antonio is to play a lot of zone defense, and that allows the defensive backs, the halfbacks Brett Young and Manny Martin, to come up and get in on the play and not have to worry about as much about pass coverage. And you know, this is exactly what they wanted to do. They've got San Antonio second and long.
Actually second and 8 as it stands right now, spotted at the 41. Archer goes to the shotgun. Over the middle on target for Mark Stock. And Stock is dragged down near the 20.
And Ottawa is going to catch a break here because Billy Hess, the inside slot back, jumped the gun. The Ottawa Rough Riders will catch a break and move San Antonio 5 back. But, I mean, already in the first quarter, you've seen San Antonio's 3 favorite plays. Kay Stevenson loves to run. He loves to run the play action off of that, and then throwing becomes his third option.
San Antonio, number 80. Second down, repeated.
There's the call of Hess. A procedure infraction there, so that nullifies a 22-yard gain.
You know, John, it almost seems like a double-edged sword. What you want to do is make David Archer beat you with passing. I mean, here's a guy that in 1993 threw for over 6,000 yards, and that's how you're trying to indicate to him you want him to beat you. It's a real double-edged sword.
On second and 12, Archer goes deep, and his man behind the cover, Mark Stock, but he just overthrew him. It was Brett Young, number 23 for Ottawa, covering on Stock that time. Young has had a solid season.
Mark Stock working on the best defensive back in the Ottawa secondary, Brett Young, and he does get a little distance with that push at the end, but David Archer just overthrew him. Archer with the wind at his back here in the first quarter, and maybe that sailed the ball a little bit on him.
Todd Jordan, first punt of the afternoon. Mark Ricks drops deep for Ottawa, standing near his 5-yard line. Jordan across his 50 to get this away. Ricks moving up. Surrounded almost immediately. James King leading the Texan tacklers that time. It'll be Ottawa ball as Andre Ware comes onto the field. We're right back.
CFL Live on TSN. Brought to you by All Sport. The new All Sports drink for athletes. All Sport. The game will never be the same. And by Bell Advantage Long Distance Services. From the alliance of Canada's only full-service telecommunications companies.
Heisman winner Andre Ware gets his second straight start for Ottawa and should be ready after 2 solid weeks to learn the offense of the Ottawa Rough Riders. Up front, the offensive line completely changed because of 4 trades during the regular season. And outside, it's Alexander and Turner, proven receivers, with Michael Richardson back in the backfield at last to run the ball for Ottawa. First and 10 for Ware, and here's Richardson. He breaks 1 tackle, and a good start. Texans defense great in the last 2 games. Collins, Fears, Bethune, and King are up front. Mo Miller makes a big difference in the middle. He plays his 5th game. The secondary much the same for the last 4 weeks. Bobby Humphrey and Malcolm Frank are on the corners.
Well, I tell you, Mo Miller in the middle. 4 games, 3 defensive touchdowns, 2 on fumble recoveries and 1 on an interception. Well, that's a bit of an impact.
2nd and 1, and Odessa Turner, did he make the catch? Are they ruling it a catch? Yes, he's got the ball, and that'll be just enough for the first down as Turner came back to the quarterback, Andre Ware.
I think you saw right away, John, the arm strength of Andre Ware. That will not be a problem for him. He can throw the out to the wide side of the field, which is the most difficult, and that time delivering a perfect strike to Odessa Turner with a lot of velocity on that ball.
First and 10, Rough Riders. Near the 25. Markers are down as Richardson gets his 2nd carry of the sequence.
Well,
Richardson playing his 6th game, Leaf, sorry.
Yeah, he missed 8 with a hamstring, and chatting with him yesterday, I know it's not 100%, but he finally said, you know, it's good enough to get back into the lineup and try and help this club, and nobody hates to be on the sidelines as long as he has.
Offside. San Antonio, number 56. First down repeated.
Well, Ottawa's going to need a few of these breaks here to keep them in this game. I mean, they're playing a terrific team, and Roosevelt Collins, you know, he's just a little jumpy wanting into that backfield early, and that's a nice break. You know, 1st and 5 now for Andre Ware, but, you know, if they can get a few mistakes out of San Antonio, it's really going to help them.
Just shy of the 30, and it's Richardson again. He grabs maybe 1 yard as he ran into Mo Miller, number 98. Talk about Miller, 3 touchdowns in 4 games that he's played, 2 fumble return touchdowns and 1 interception.
Here he is right here, and at 6'3", 230 pounds. Watch how he flows to the football. He's reading, now he reads it, and he gets right up through the hole, nobody to block him, and he goes helmet to helmet with Michael Richardson, and I'll tell you what an impact this guy Mo Miller has made in the few games he's been back.
2nd and 5 as Ware went for Nigel Williams, and it's right through his fingers.
You know, Nigel Williams is getting the start today. He's a raw rookie from the Hamilton Juniors, and he's got a lot of physical potential. 6'4", 206 pounds. I mean, a guy you have to take a look at because he is a consistent 4-4 sprinter. But this is what you worry about.
Yeah.
He's a young guy. He's not overly disciplined in his pass patterns yet, and you have to wonder. I mean, that's a catch he should have made, and I got a feeling nerves early in the ball game will be his biggest problem.
Lamley is in. He has been punting rather well for the Rough Riders, averaging 40.8 yards a kick. Lucas is deep. David Lucas steps up, makes the catch. There's nowhere to go. He's decked at about the 50-yard line. So far, no score. Jim Gilstrap of the Rough Riders hanging in.
CFL Live, brought to you in part by 3M Canada, imagining the unthinkable and developing the unknown. That's 3M Innovation at Work.
It is a perfect day in Canada's capital, and no scores so far at Frank Clair Stadium. Ottawa Rough Riders, San Antonio Texans. 18 Celsius, a slight breeze, and it's dry here. Fall colors all around Lansdowne Park.
It's funny you talk about the fall colors and the leaves coming off the trees. That's what Bill Bradley, the defensive coordinator, said to his team. He said when the leaves change color and start coming off the trees, that's when we better start playing at our highest level. So when they came in from the airport, he kind of pointed at all these trees up here in the northern part of the world to his players.
Archer on target. Mike Saunders has a first down. He's inside the 40. Mark Rex forced him out. 23-yard gain for Mike Saunders.
Yeah, when I talk about Mike Saunders, I say this is what he gives the offense. It's his pass-catching ability. Hey, they can get enough running out of Troy Mills, but catching is what they want Mike Saunders to do. And you talk about a guy, 23 yards on that catch. He's averaging over 15 yards a reception this year, and that's phenomenal for a running back.
Another Texans first down at the 37. Archer stands in, and he's off target. Kittrick Taylor looked to be the closest receiver, number 85. And a little pressure on Archer getting that one away. The last time Archer played here on this turf was the first time we had an international CFL game, and Archer was sacked 7 times by the Ottawa Rough Riders that evening.
I remember that. I mean, they were blocking 10 people up and only putting 2 receivers out into coverage. That was the days when Dave Ritchie was the defensive coordinator in Ottawa, and he had a defense that came at you with 7 and 8 guys, and it was just an awful way for the Sacramento at that time to begin their CFL tenure.
2nd and 10. Archer with time. He's on target. David Gamble makes the catch, and he's inside the 10-yard line. 33 yards the gain for David Gamble, who's in for Billy Hess.
And a coverage breakdown in the Ottawa secondary. There you see Mark Ricks, the corner. He's up in man-to-man, and, you know, they have a linebacker, Dwayne Knight, 44, chasing. And that is a mismatch. David Gamble, a speedy wide receiver, and if you're going to try and cover him with 44, Dwayne Knight, that's going to be a total mismatch all game long. And, you know, that's what Ottawa has to try and stay away from, these bad mismatches. And that's why I think Dickie Adams' defense should stay in a lot of zone coverage today and force David Archer to throw it underneath, not give him those opportunities deep downfield.
Kay Stevenson looking in at the injured David Gamble. We'll see if we can see what happened here. He was all alone.
Well, you see how badly he has Dwayne Knight beaten. Now, you know, he's been touched there. The play is over, but for some reason he thinks he can, you know, get up and still run, and that's after that is when he took the shot.
Texans down to the Ottawa 4-yard line on their second offensive drive. Dwayne Knight's on the sidelines right now with Ricardo Washington in his spot, number 35. We'll get David Gamble up on his feet and see if the Texans can score when we return to Ottawa. CFL Live from Ottawa. No scores so far, but the Texans are threatening at the Ottawa 4. David Gamble is still down on the near side of the field, and maybe we can see exactly what happened.
On the first replay, John, I said, you know, he tried to get up and run again, and we didn't see it, but now you're going to see it. Now, to me, the play is over, but Gamble thinks that, oh, no, he still can go, so Remy Trudel will make what looks like a harmless hit here out of bounds, and, boy, it's very difficult to tell what could have happened from that.
I think it was on the catch. He actually landed.
Maybe on his tailbone.
On his tailbone. Because there's not much in the hit by Trudell that would indicate a serious injury. Gamble just into the ball game for Billy Hess. He is listed as the backup slot back. All-time leading receiver at New Hampshire.
Well, you look at this,
college.
you know, John, you asked me in our opening what might be a weakness on Kay Stevenson's team, and I thought maybe a receiving core. And, you know, I was really picking to try and find a weakness. I mean, this isn't a bad receiving core by any stretch. You know, you've got guys like Gamble, who's not even a starter, that comes in and makes big plays for you, and they have pretty good balance, and that's what Kay likes. You see the job that they have done this year in second place right now, 16 points, and they are peaking at the right time. I don't think they'll have a chance to catch Baltimore, but
they're battling with Birmingham and Memphis, as you see there, to try and grab home field for that second playoff spot in the South.
Well, at this point in time, San Antonio is a better team than both Birmingham and Memphis. And, you know, I have to give Kay Stevenson credit. I've criticized him over the years of his stubbornness to adapt to the Canadian style of game. But, you know, he's built his team, and I think a lot of it goes to that offensive line. They've had the same group together all season long, and now they got that running game going, and they run the play action. An offense very similar to what Baltimore runs, and, you know, the success Tracy Ham's had there. And I think Archer's having that now. The turnovers are down, and that's good.
Ottawa's Jim Gilstrap won his first game in the Canadian Football League as a head coach. He's won only one time since, and that's why Ottawa is just south of Toronto in the standings. Calgary home and cooled out pretty well for top spot. BC and Edmonton battling for second. They'll have a pretty good battle at Commonwealth tomorrow. Hamilton lost a critical game yesterday, and that allows Winnipeg to move up tied at least in points with Saskatchewan, so there's going to be a race for the 5th playoff spot now.
Well, we get a report from the field that David Gamble is moving his legs, but apparently does not have any feeling in them, and that obviously is a pretty scary situation for everyone. And you know, they're going to take as much time as they need to make sure that he is totally all right before they move him. You see them working the legs.
Now this might be where he injured himself, landing this way right here, but he got up after that.
I don't think there's any question that clearly shows you he landed right on his tailbone, and probably what was what caused the injury.
He got up, and then Trudell got over.
That's instinct. Yeah. I mean, you know, you're hurt, but you still get up. You still want to make the play, and you know, that's instinct, raw instinct taking over there. And you know, until he got on all fours, he probably didn't realize he was hurt as badly as he may be hurt.
Now there must be some concern, because the head coach doesn't usually come all the way across field to check on an injured player. That's left to the training staff for the most part. But Kay Stevenson has now walked over and is standing down there with David Gamble.
You know, well, we have a moment here. There's a few people involved with the Ottawa organization that are not too well either. And, you know, I'd like to say a special hello to Bill Goodwin, the player personnel director of the Ottawa Rough Riders, who is recovering in St. Catharines after having a stroke. And Bill, if you're listening, Garney Henley and all the fellas here send you their best, and hope your recovery is a speedy one.
Is Kenneber's uncle in the hospital too?
Yeah.
Uncle Jerry?
Uncle Jerry's in the hospital here in Ottawa with a heart bypass, and we wish him the best too. So we take care of all those announcements right now.
Now, good news to see that David Gamble is able to move his legs, but they're moving the ambulance out of the field, as you saw a second ago, to make sure that all the precautions are taken.
You know, John, as you look at this San Antonio team and the accomplishments that they've had this year, 8-5, and a fun team to watch, I'm thrilled for their owner, Fred Anderson. I mean, this is a guy that has come into the league and not made a lot of noise and spent a lot of money, lost a lot of money, and now for him to have a winning team, and you know, I know he would like things to be better attendance-wise in San Antonio. I'm really happy for Fred Anderson. I know we had a chat with him in the hotel this morning, and he was a pretty upbeat guy, and it's nice to see his team playing so well.
Obviously, he's concerned right now for the health of David Gamble, and we understand from the sidelines now, as they pull the stretcher out, he doesn't have any feeling in his right leg as it is right now after coming down hard on his tailbone, making a big catch and getting San Antonio down inside the Ottawa 5-yard line. So concern everywhere at Frank Clair Stadium right now as the medical staff tends to David Gamble. Still very difficult from our vantage point here. But you see him indicating that his right leg is the problem right there.
The other way. Okay.
Let's go on one time.
You got it. You want to wait, my partner will come down here. Mikey. Bring your arm right up, right over your head.
Bring it right up there. You ready?
So a very intense time as David Gamble is put onto the board and will be lifted onto the stretcher here in a second. and taken to an Ottawa area hospital for further examination and test. There's
Okay. I just want to put one
quite a
strap
group
around
of
his waist.
medical personnel surrounding him down there, including one of the Ottawa team doctors and the San Antonio team doctor.
Yeah, get out of the way here,
I'm gonna lift you up. I'm just gonna get you to keep your hands down. No, no. Yeah. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Well, one of you wants to sit in the front there and show us exactly where you want to go.
So if you're just joining us, that's David Gamble, slot back, wide receiver for the San Antonio Texans, being loaded into an ambulance here a moment from now and off to a hospital after falling and being unable to get up after making a reception. He came down rather hard on the turf here at Frank Clair Stadium. And so he's on his way to the hospital now. One more look at how this happened, and our best guess is when he came down from making the catch right here and landed on his tailbone. Although, as we said before, Leif, he did get up and move after that. You suggested that was the instinct, but he actually covered a few more yards here before he was forced out of bounds by Remy Trudel. But from here, he was unable to get back to his feet. Always a difficult time in football at any level when the ambulance comes out of the field, even the stretcher sometimes. It's a difficult situation to speak about, and of course the stadium normally goes very quiet no matter who has been injured out there.
Well, to get back to football after that catch by David Gamble, the San Antonio, I almost said Sacramento.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it?
San Antonio Texans have a terrific opportunity to score the first points of this football game.
3 cracks at it here from the 4-yard line. Archer keeps it on the ground. Saunders grabbed by Ray Bernard, number 95. Archer good on 3 of 5 for 80 yards on the 2 drives so far for the Texans.
And Ray Bernard is one of the 3 linebackers for Ottawa that have to have terrific games today. And on the counter, he flows nicely to the football and ends up making the play. Derek McCready got the initial penetration. And now, you know, it just gets tougher and tougher to try and slow down this team on the goal line.
2nd and goal to go for the 2. Archer will put it up, and he's on target for the touchdown as Billy Hess has his first touchdown reception of the season. Archer finishes off the drive and covers substantial yardage out there.
Well, as John mentioned, the first touchdown. It took a while for Billy Hess to get on the board this year, but he does it nicely there. A little pick, and the Ottawa secondary with Mark Ricks and Manny Martin just can't adjust to it, and pretty easy completion for David Archer's 17th touchdown pass of the year. And so David Gamble's great catch down to the goal line area results in San Antonio's opening score.
And Roman Anderson, perfect all season in the convert department, adds 1 more to the Texas total. Hess has his first touchdown of the season, and San Antonio leads Ottawa 7-0.
One of the things I've always loved about David Archer is a quick release. Watch, when that ball comes up, boom, it is gone. And as a defensive back, you know, that just allows you a little bit less time to recover. Ottawa couldn't recover, and Hess has his first major of the year.
Celebrating down there with Myron Wise, who gets a chance to start at one of the outside receiving spots this week. Hess was listed as the starter this afternoon and was actually on the sidelines when David Gamble was in his spot at the slot back and was injured.
Well, that's the thing about this offense. I mean, they've got a couple of wide receivers that come in like a David Gamble. They've got David Lucas, former Hamilton Tiger Cat, who is also will come in and get some playing time. So they rotate everybody through. They're always fresh. They're always ready to go. And Kay Stevenson likes it that way. He likes a lot of substitution.
Not at quarterback very often, because David Archer has been Kay Stevenson's quarterback since the gold miners were born and since the arrival in Texas. Kay Stevenson had a few years as a quarterback in the National Football League, a few years as a quarterback coach, and a few years as a head coach. Coming down to Nigel Williams near the 20. He's got great speed, 4.4 in fact, and that time he got going too quickly and slipped across the 30-yard line.
See the bottom of his shoes? He's got the white tape on there. The players call that spatting the shoes. But I'll tell you what I don't like about it is a lot of times when you go to make those hard cuts with that white tape on the bottom there, that's a good look at it. You slip and you lose your balance. That's one of the things I always felt I didn't ever want to tape my shoes and take that chance of slipping.
Here's what Archer managed. 5 plays, 60 yards, a time of 2:02, and Hess, a 2-yard touchdown reception. Alexander to the near side. That means Odessa Turner is flanked to the far side of the field for a 1st and 10 Ottawa. The Rough Riders trailing as Odessa Turner makes the catch and has nowhere to go. Wrapped up by number 7, Jason Wallace. Odessa Turner, the leading Ottawa receiver this year.
And John, when you look at this replay from this angle, watch the defense flow to the football. I mean, this is a team that has great team speed. Jason Wallace is the first one there, number 7, and then of course Bobby Humphrey, and then you got Dave Harper. But I mean, we're talking a defense that has a tremendous amount of team speed and great flow to the football.
Loss of 1, 2nd and 11 Ottawa, just inside the 30. Andre Ware looks deep. He has Nigel Williams. He couldn't hang on. He's got the jitters. It was right there in his mitts. A little more difficult than the one he dropped the previous time, but I'd say catchable.
Well, it's really catchable. The sun is not a factor for him going to that way on the football field, and you know he's got to make this catch if he wants to make an impact and impress the coaches. You know, he's had 2 cracks at it now, and this certainly would have made up for the first drop. And you know, that was an easy ball. That stretched out made it look a lot tougher than it was. That's a very catchable football, and the kind of plays that Ottawa's going to have to come up with if they want to stay in this game. Now they've got a fast 2 and out again, and San Antonio is going to get it back.
In good field position. They'll be around midfield with Lucas and Wilhite deep. Lamley's kick high and fairly deep. Kenny Wilhite gets near the 50-yard line. Grabbed there by Stephen Reed.
The old field position in this game has really been in San Antonio's favor early.
And there's a marker down after the play. So I would suggest some kind of rough stuff down there.
Well, Chris Angaris, you might expect, would be in the middle of it. A notorious hard special teams player, and he was mixing it up with somebody.
He was with Tony Burse.
Well, that's his target for the day. Chris Angaris has been assigned to Tony Burse on the special teams and try and get some shots on him.
Major foul. Unnecessary roughness. Ottawa number 94. 1st down.
And we had his face up there for you before Alma Coleman made the official announcement, but the penalty goes against Chris Angaris, and the Ottawa Rough Riders are back near the 45. There's another injury on the far side of the field. Looks like a downed Rough Rider. We'll send you back to Darren and check what's up at CFL Control.
Hey, thanks very much, John. It is indeed a busy day in the world of sports. The Toronto Blue Jays, they continue to play out the string. Very important game for the New York Yankees. They continue to battle for that American League wild card spot. How about Paul O'Neill? Couple man on, he'll take you out lighter deep. It's gone, a 3-run shot. The New York Yankees have jumped out to a 4-1 lead over the Toronto Blue Jays in the bottom of the 1st. On to the American League wildcard scenario. California, just 1 game back. It looked as though the Yankees were going to lose last night, but they pull it out in the latter stages of the baseball game, much to the chagrin of the Angels. Time now to head back to Frank Clair Stadium. Guys, back to a little football.
And another injury report as we look down on the field right now. Remy Trudell is the injured Ottawa Rough Riders starting safety and has been in that spot all season long, so that'll force a change for Jim Gilstrap. Dan Murphy is the backup there.
Now, John, you and I were chatting earlier today about the Ottawa defense, and we talked about Remy Trudel and the fact that he had 61 tackles coming into this game, which was the leading tackler on the Ottawa team. And
now that's not good news.
No, we both kind of felt that maybe you don't want your middle safety who's playing about 15 yards deep to be your leading tackler. And I don't think it's because Remy Trudel is overly aggressive and that he's coming up sticking his nose at the line of scrimmage. It kind of tells me that a lot of teams have been getting people into the secondary too many times.
Remember the day that he had on the season opener? Remy Trudel, 2 interceptions and a fumble return against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Really gave Ottawa great field position, and that was Ottawa's first of only 2 wins this season.
That was kind of Remy's season, because he's only has 3 interceptions now, so he had 2 in the first game and the fumble recovery and all that kind of stuff. And you know, this has been a defense that, with no question, has struggled.
When you look at time of possession, it could be a lot worse for the Ottawa Rough Riders, but there's some good news as Trudel is up and off under his own steam. He's a hard-nosed football player. But with a penalty against Ottawa to Chris Sangaris on special teams, the Texans are set up at the Ottawa 45, first down. 109 yards offense to 10. Mike Saunders tries the left side, and he won't get around the corner. Run out by Mark Ricks, and he stepped maybe a foot ahead of the line of scrimmage before he was forced out.
Well, one of the things that Ottawa has to do is get some penetration upfield from the defensive ends. This is Horace Morris, and, you know, with his zone coverage behind it now, he's got to fight through because he knows he's going to get help. Here comes Manny Martin, and now Mark Ricks, the corner, gets to come up, and, you know, that's what zone coverage allows you to do. Get your defensive backs involved in the tackling on those running plays, and Morris knew he was going to get help, so he could take that inside.
Second and almost 10 yards to go for the Texans. 45. Archer has time, steps up, throws. He's on target for Kittrick Taylor. Markers are down everywhere as Eric Jeter was covering on the play. 2 penalty markers down. The gain will be 18 yards, and it looks like the infraction is against Ottawa. So Kittrick Taylor's catch will go for first down.
Defensive pass interference. Ottawa number 19. First down.
On Eric Jeter.
Pass interference against the Riders.
It's a great move by Kittrick Taylor, too. You know, you always want to get a defensive back turn. Watch how he goes up to the outside, and you'll see that Jeter's whole body is turned. When it turns, boom, now you cut to the inside, the ball's in the air, and, boy, that's a terrific pattern by Kittrick Taylor.
On first down, Archer on target once more down at the 20-yard line. That's Billy Hess. That'll be short of the first down as he was hit by Charlie Clemens.
You know,
of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Sorry, Lee.
John, you go back to the move by Kittrick Taylor. As a receiver, you only make that kind of move when you have confidence in your ability. You know, some receivers are so excited to get into that area they're supposed to be at. They're not patient to try and work a defensive back, get his hips turned. But Taylor, you know, got those hips turned, and that was flawless. And, you know, he's feeling pretty good about himself when he makes patterns like that.
7-yard gain. This is 2nd and 3. Archer throwing quickly, and behind his intended target, Myron Wise, number 82. And Jeter was covering on Wise that time.
Well, I think you see David Archer tapped his chest there, and he's saying to Myron Wise, that's my fault, my fault.
I was a little behind you,
Yeah, I threw it behind you. You were open. You ran a good, quick post pattern, 3-stepper. I should have hit you, but, you know, that thing kind of wobbled and was in behind, and no way that Wise could make the catch.
Tough to beat the kind of season that Roman Anderson is having as he steps into the ball game one more time. Good on 40 of 45. If you figured that out, 88.9%. Definitely within range. He's hit from 55.
Oh, you did it to him.
He's wide there. So quickly, what's the percentage, Leaf?
88.
Oh, you knocked that 5% off, right?
0.9. 88. But you know, you talk about, John, areas that this team is better. When they first came into the league in 1993, their kicking game was horrible.
Oh, wasn't it?
It was horrible. But now, you know, a guy like Roman Anderson, sure, he missed that one, but my, oh my, you know, to be 40 of 46, that looks pretty good. And, you know, that's just another area of this team that's improved.
Ottawa Rough Riders giving up the point, and they'll have first down at the 35. Andre Ware gets a bit of a rush here. He finds Michael Richardson, and Richardson escapes. He should have a first down. Stopped by Jason Wallace, the right halfback. Good move by Richardson.
Was because he's got Maurice Miller coming right in on the blitz, and Andre Ware held the ball just perfectly. Here comes Miller. Boom, he holds it just at the right time. He gets Richardson, and that's a nice looking play.
Gain of 9, 2nd and 1 Ottawa. And Williams makes the catch. Slanting in Nigel Williams. He missed 2, but he comes up with a first down there.
Well, you know, I have to think that Andre Ware said, look, he's dropped a couple. He's got a lot of talent. I don't want him to lose his confidence. So what they do, they run a little quick post. Easy pattern, easy ball to complete, and an easy ball to catch. So now all of a sudden maybe the jitters are gone and Nigel Williams can start to play some ball.
First down Ottawa at the 49. Strother gets the call and snapped immediately, turns, spins around, and still lost a couple of yards. Willie Fears closed the hole in a hurry. So Strother retreated, and he lost a couple. It'll be 2nd and 12 facing Andre Ware now. Ware good on 56% of his passes in his brief time in Ottawa. Standing in, going deep. And Odessa Turner was the intended target, with Malcolm Frank, number 10, covering it. Ware was nowhere near his receiver that time.
Wow, he's pointing to Turner. You're supposed to fade it to the outside. And, you know, they've had 2 weeks for Andre Ware, who's taking all the reps in practice to get used to Ray Alexander and Odessa Turner. So when these kind of miscommunications happen during a game, it's kind of surprising. Those things shouldn't happen because they've had plenty of time to understand each other and where they're supposed to be.
Lamley standing inside his 25. Wilhite and Lucas deep for the Texans. A wobbler. This is Ken Wilhite. Up to about the 42 and surrounded by red jerseys there. Tacklers led by the speedy Dwayne Knights. He has 20 special teams tackles on the season so far. Number 44 for Ottawa. Archer over 100 yards, 6 of 9 for 1 touchdown, and the big goose egg where the interceptions go.
It's funny, the transition this offense has made over the last few years. When they first came into the league, they were a throw, 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 and more throw kind of offense, and now it is so balanced, and there's not nearly the kind of pressure on David Archer to beat teams by himself. He has a lot of weapons around him.
Texans almost used the run to set up the throw now. This is Troy Mills, and he's a fine running back. Mills out across the 45. Stopped by Charlie Clemens, number 48.
Well, the thing I like about a Troy Mills is a few years ago he was a fullback with Sacramento when they were Sacramento, and Mike Oliphant was the running back. He was hurt and went out for the season, so Troy Mills went from fullback to running back, and that's a big transition, and he really did it nicely.
2nd and 5, Archer over the middle, and Billy Hess makes the catch in front of Brett Young, number 23. See where they spot the ball, but it's awfully close to a first down. Hess has the only touchdown of the ball game, his first of the season.
You'd have to think, I mean, they're not even measuring this one. This is simply short, and you'd have to think with the kind of running game that San Antonio has that this isn't much of a third down gamble.
I wouldn't think so. Less than a yard to go, and out across the 50. Ball spotted at the 52.
Biggest problem Archer may have is to try to decide who to give it to.
You give it to Mills, you give it to Saunders, do you keep it yourself? Keep it yourself. No markers, it'll be a first down, Texans.
Archer keeps.
San Antonio leading 8-0 at the end of quarter number 1. A perfect day for CFL football in Canada's capital. Welcome back to Frank Clair Stadium as we get set for the second quarter of this matchup between San Antonio and Ottawa, with the Texans leading 8-0, and here's why.
Well, the numbers in the first quarter, you know, the only one that's really surprising to me is Ottawa is only 8 yards rushing. You would think with Michael Richardson coming back into the lineup, that would be really something that they would try and establish, especially for a young quarterback. But, you know, as yet, they haven't really had anything in that department.
Net yards 22 for the Rough Riders. So 8-0 flatters Ottawa at this stage of things. San Antonio really had opportunities to score in their first 3 drives, and the wide field goal for the 8th point. Archer hitting on 70% of his passes so far. Archer goes to the shotgun, and he's nailed. Ray Bernard.
Well, that's what Ottawa's going to need, are some big plays on defense today. And, you know, guys like Ray Bernard, a veteran player, has to really help out. And, you know, that time he's coming on that, what they call that spy technique. He's got the quarterback all the way. And, you know, you'll see Archer on the rollout. He's got no chance. Here comes Ray Bernard, boom, right in the face. And, you know, Archer doesn't even have time to dump it away and try and get rid of it.
A 9-yard loss. Archer now looks at 2nd and 19. Sliding and making the catch out near midfield. Just into Ottawa territory at the 54. Lucas listed as a backup receiver.
That's pretty good situational defense for Brett Young. He had
Quarterback. Ottawa number 95. First down.
So now
They got Bernard this time. The big sack last time, and Bernard's timing was off. He got to the quarterback a little late this time.
I'm just going to say what a good job Brett Young did, just keeping him front. He knew the situation, 2nd and 19, and no way he was going to pick it up. And then they get the roughing penalty, and now an automatic first down and all that stuff. And, you know, for Ottawa, you know, it's worth repeating. This is a team that has to play error-free. And already they've made a few mistakes. They had blown coverage that set up the touchdown, and now in an easy first down on the penalty.
Texans inside the 40-yard line, and Troy Mills gets the call on first down.
Mills.
San Antonio leading 8-0 just nicely into the second quarter. Tackle made by the veteran Lloyd Lewis.
So you look at additions to this defense and who has made an impact. Well, it's guys like Charlie Clemens. You know, he's 6'1" and 248 pounds. I mean, he's a guy that can play against the run. There he thinks, you know, draw or screen, and then he gets his face right up in there. But, boy, he's going to have to play well along with Bernard.
On 2nd and long, Archer goes to the far side for Kittrick Taylor. Mark Ricks forced him out, number 17.
Taylor forced out of bounds by Ricks.
Well, you get a look at the arm strength of David Archer on that pass. I mean, that's one of those that has to be delivered with a lot of steam on it. And Kittrick Taylor, he knows where the first down marker is. Got a couple of yards to go, but what a well-thrown ball by David Archer.
Texans continue their march. Now at the 26-yard line, Archer good on 9 of 12. This is Mills, nailed right in the backfield by Derek McCready. Couple of sacks in the season for McCready, who has been in and out of the lineup because of injury. That time he got to the running back.
And he took a gamble. Watch, he shoots the gap. He slashes down. It's called a slant. He slants down from that defensive end. And look at the center. He just swim over the top of Mike Kiselak, and boom, he's in the backfield. And you know, that's the first time they've been able to get one of those tackles for losses that the defensive linemen love so much.
McCready coming over from the BC Lions in 1993. Here's Archer on 2nd and a bunch, going for the touchdown for Scott. He's got it. Mark Stock has the touchdown, his 4th of the season, and he got behind Manny Martin.
That pass to Stock.
Well, Mark Stock made a nice transition from wide receiver into slot back, principally because he can read coverages, and you know, he read the man-to-man, had lots of room to take it to the corner, and gets in behind Manny Martin. And once again, David Archer is at a high level this afternoon. He's delivering some strikes, and that's his second touchdown pass.
Couple of touchdown tosses for David Archer. Stock and Hess have the touchdowns for the Texans. And Anderson adds one more to the Texas total. Mark Stock, 36th catch of the season, goes for a touchdown. Mark Stock on the sideline celebrating his 4th touchdown of the season and giving San Antonio a 15-0 advantage on Ottawa.
Well, you wonder why David Archer has time to throw and why they're a better football team. Watch the offensive line. This is a touchdown pass to Mark Stock. Stop it right there. I mean, that's the stunt. Now you've got Darrell Smith here and you've got Darren Mullenberg here. But, hey, you know, they run the cross with Derek McCready and Ray Bernard, but the offensive line just sits back, picks it up easily. And, you know, for David Archer, nobody in his face. But, you know, so many, you talk about improvement. We talked about the kicking game. How about the offensive line? And don't think Archer doesn't appreciate that. I mean, he's been on his backside a lot in this CFL, and now he's getting a lot more time to throw.
Short kick coming down to Charlie Clemens, who doesn't get a chance to run with the ball off it. Perhaps that's why right there he's stopped near the 40 by Oscar Giles, number 96. Here's Archer's scoring drive. 9 plays to cover 68 yards in a time of 3:06. 30-yard touchdown strike to Mark Stock, and penalties hurting Ottawa again.
I'll tell you who's going to need a little Advil. It's Ray Bernard after that silly roughing penalty. I mean, that's 7 points now, and in a game where you're struggling to try and win, I mean, that's mistakes. It's all season long. It's the same old story that the teams that struggle and don't play well, most of the reason is penalties and mistakes.
Andre Ware, and that one slipped right out of his hands as he tried to throw it. He got it back somehow. That was a little weird, Leif. Looked like the ball spun right in his hand.
Well, you're going to get a good look at it here. Now, to me, I mean, that's the motion. I mean, that's a pass. I mean, it just slipped out of his hands, but I guess they rule that's a fumble. I mean, I don't
rule it a...
That's a
well,
fumble.
they're calling it a fumble, and Ottawa luckily gets it back, facing 2nd and 21.
You know, you almost have to laugh at the comedy errors here because it's just, you know, San Antonio's playing okay, but Ottawa just keeps beating themselves.
Ware is on target. The Duke makes the catch. James Ellingson. He'll be short of a first down, but a big play for Ottawa to get them out from deep in their own zone. Out near the 50.
And what the Duke, James Ellingson, gives this offense is a guy that can read coverages and read zones, and you see him just get into the hole there inside Maurice Miller, the middle linebacker. And you know, one of the things that San Antonio said is we're going to play more man-to-man than we normally do because we don't think Ottawa slot backs can beat us in man-to-man, but they can in zone.
Gilstrap is going for it on 3rd, a little better than a yard, and Richardson has it easily. Up to the 55. Safety Charles Franks up to put the stop on Michael Richardson, but a little something to cheer about for Ottawa fans.
Why, look at the job David Black does. Holy geez, look at right down here. Chris Burns kicks out here. Here you go, Michael Richardson. You got a pretty good lane to run through here and pick up that first down. Chris Burns walls off nicely. Boy, that's a heck of a job on the right side.
Right at midfield, first down Ottawa. Ware for Alexander. It's a jump ball. And Wallace appears to have come up with it. There's the interception. 4th of the season for Jason Wallace.
And this is where a young quarterback like Andre Ware gets fooled by the coverage. You know, he doesn't see Jason Wallace sliding out underneath the out. He's got the short flat, and there he goes. He slides out there. He's underneath the out, and he gets his 4th interception. But Jason Wallace, one of the original members of this Sacramento team, and he had a great quote. He said last year when we came up, or 3 years ago, we played our inaugural game in Ottawa. He says the fans hated us, the players hated us, and I learned a lot of new bad words that day here.
They learned Canadian.
Yeah.
First down, Texans again. Archer swings it to Mills. Away from one and grabbed from behind by John Kropke.
Mills brought down by Kropke.
Nice running back, Troy Mills, whether he's carrying the ball or running after making a catch.
Picked up for the Texans first down.
John, we got a couple of injury updates for David Gamble. Contusion on the tailbone. He will not return to the game today. He is in the locker room. They took him in there for observation, and for Jim Gilstraff's safety, Remy Trudel, he has a mild concussion and could possibly play in the second half.
Texans out across midfield with another first down at the Ottawa 53. Archer down the far side. Wise was the intended receiver, and Mark Ricks was with him stride for stride. Pretty good coverage by Ricks that time.
Intended for Wise, Mark Ricks with the coverage. Second down.
David Archer having a pretty solid afternoon in Ottawa so far. Much better than the last time he was here, when he was sacked 7 times, 10 of 13. 162 yards and a couple of touchdown tosses.
And I think what David Archer would be so pleased about the way his season has gone is that touchdown interception ratio. He's now at 18 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, a 3-to-1 ratio, and I think any quarterback would be thrilled with that.
Second and 10, Archer finds the release guy, and it's Troy Mills. Mills across the 45, stopped by Ray Bernard, and we'll see where they spot the ball. They had to get to about the 43.
Well, this is one of the things that San Antonio does so well and really takes advantage of his running backs. You know, you got Troy Mills here and Mike Saunders that can catch, but watch how he just kind of sneaks through here, and you know, the linebackers have dropped. He sneaks through the defensive line, and there's Bernard. He's dropping back, and you know, by the time you catch it, you're at 5 yards. Now you get to run for a few more, and you know, you end up with 9 yards. That's a heck of a play. Easy ball to complete. That's why Archer's percentage is so high, up at 60%.
Actually less than a yard on third down. No problem. Mills broke 1 tackle, slowed by Ricks, and then pinned by Jeter, number 19. San Antonio on top of Ottawa. It's 15-0 with 7:44 to go till halftime.
Talk about good footwork. Watch Mills here. I mean, this is designed right up the gut, but you know, he sees it all plugged up, and with some quick footwork gets it to the outside, and was just 1 player away from taking it the distance.
6 carries for 26 yards already for Troy Mills. He'll approach 100 before the afternoon's over. That's pretty much guaranteed. Archer with another first down, this time at the 35 of Ottawa. Play action fake, and he didn't get away with it. Derek McCready was through, and your pal Horace Morris wasn't far behind. 3rd sack of the season for Derek McCready.
Well, Derek McCready's really been able to get some good penetration today. Here he is at the top of the screen, and you know, this is about the 3rd time he's been right in the face of David Archer, and you know, just the blocking scheme on the left side, you know, you can't give him that inside position as the left tackle. You know, Darryl Smith, he's got to set down inside and wall off a little better, and that was a pretty easy ride for McCready into the backfield.
2nd sack of the afternoon for the Rough Riders. 2nd and long for Archer. Throwing into heavy cover for Mike Saunders, and there were 3 Rough Riders there. Clemens was all the way back. The backup safety, Dan Murphy, is in the area, and so is the cornerback, Eric Jeter.
Well, you can see what a difference it's been for the Ottawa defense this afternoon when they've been able to force San Antonio into 2nd and long. You know, when San Antonio's had good first down production, they've been successful, but now 2nd and long. I mean, this is a tough ball to complete. You got 3 Ottawa guys in the area all fighting for the interception.
So this drive comes up short, and Todd Jordan hasn't been called upon this afternoon, back near midfield. At least often. This first punt traveled 37 yards with Ricks waiting at his 5 for Ottawa. Jordan aiming it out of bounds. Ricks gets a chance to make a play on it. There wasn't much left after that. Maybe a 2-yard return for Mark Ricks. Leading the tacklers that time for the Texans was Hurley Brown. Andre Ware back on the field for Ottawa to see if he can turn things around. It's been a long time between winning seasons for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Still a rather loyal group of fans out at Frank Clair Stadium. Nice place to watch a football game. It'd be nice to see Andre Ware get something going here for the Ottawa fans, and it's Mike Richardson. Stopped by Grady Canvas, number 24.
And I think really
Ware hitting on 50%. You say it's not good enough.
Well, I mean, he's had a couple of drops by Nigel Williams. Those numbers could be a lot better. Could be 7 and 10 for about 80 yards, and that would look a lot better. But, you know, I think Andre Ware at this point in the game, we're past the halfway mark of the second quarter. He's got to get something general. He's got to take matters into his own hands. And, hey, this guy's a terrific runner, and we have yet to see him run today.
A first down, Ottawa. And this is Richardson taking a neat little handoff ahead, almost a pitch. Stopped at the 38. Kind of like Michael Richardson's desire. Stopped by Mo Miller, number 98. The running game working a little more effectively for Ottawa.
And it's worked effectively on the right side with David Black and Chris Burns. And look at the kickout block. Deion Strother on Dave Harper right there. And, you know, the right side of this offensive line with Burns and David Black, they've done a super job in this first half. And now finally they're starting to, you know, dominate a little bit up front.
Another 10-yard gain. Give it to Richardson again. Not quite this time. Willie Fears, 78, was there to put the stop on Michael Richardson that time after back-to-back first down runs.
Well, happy to have him back. He hasn't played since August the 4th when he hurt that hamstring in a game out in Vancouver. Those are his numbers today so far. And, you know, every team's had injury problems, but when you're a team struggling and you lose guys like Richardson for 8 games, it's tough to function.
2nd and 8. Ottawa at the 39. Here's Ware trying to find a little room outside. Looked like he might have taken out that time, but James King was there. Number 53. 4th sack of the year for James King.
They put the dash in for Andre Ware where he'll drop back and then he sprints this way, but watch James King down here fight off the block and make the play. I mean, this is an unbelievable play by your defensive end. He's not supposed to be able to get out there like that, but boom.
Marker down in the San Antonio secondary.
Contact of an eligible receiver. San Antonio, number 10. First down.
Illegal contact against San Antonio Riders.
Malcolm Frank. So there's a break for Ottawa.
Yeah, it's a break they needed, too. I mean, James King, he's got the speed. I mean, he was a linebacker in college. He's got that speed, and that was a heck of an effort, but it goes for naught.
Ottawa out near the 50 and released quickly by Ware for Jay Christensen. Better than halfway to a first down for the veteran Jay Christensen.
Makes the catch.
Listed as a backup today, but in a Nigel Williams spot, I do believe, out there right now.
And to Ottawa's credit, where they're attacking with is with the slot backs. Ellingson's had a good catch. Christensen now with one, and of course with Michael Richardson. San Antonio is trying to take away Odessa Turner and Ray Alexander. Neither one has caught a ball yet, but to Andre Ware's credit, he's going to the right spots.
Richardson on 2nd and 3, fighting for the first down. Gerhardt is there, and Willie Fears is there. And we'll see where they spot the ball for Michael Richardson. Running effectively after missing 8 games with a hamstring injury.
And he's still not 100%. We chatted yesterday, and you know, he said, I just could not stay out of the lineup anymore. People are looking at me sideways in the locker room, and when you're hurt, it's no fun. So he's about 90%, and he said 90% was good enough to get back into the lineup.
That's how close he is. We remember Michael Richardson from those great days in Winnipeg, 2-time CFL rushing champion in 92 and 93.
Well, on 3rd down now, both times Ottawa has gambled. They've gone over the right side over David Black and Chris Burns. Let's see if, in fact, they do go there again, and if San Antonio makes an adjustment and pinches down.
3rd down, inches to go. Andre Ware straight ahead. It'll be a first down Ottawa with no flags anywhere to be seen. Ware's put together a decent drive. He began back near the 10-yard line.
Well, even though it's the second quarter, you know, this drive really was kind of crunch time for Ottawa. They had to give their defense a bit of a break and, you know, try and get on the scoreboard with trailing by 15 already.
3 minutes to the half as we take a timeout in Ottawa and see if the Rough Riders can roll on back. That's the story so far. Another Ottawa Rough Rider first down is Andre Ware. Look for Ken Avrere. Grady Cavness was with number 13. Ken Avrere on the coverage that time. Second time around as an Ottawa Rough Rider for Avrere.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's not getting more playing time, especially in a game like this. San Antonio notoriously a zone defense kind of team, and Ken Abraer's a kind of receiver that can really read those coverages so well and find the open spots. And now in the second quarter, you know, they put him in, and maybe he can be a factor.
Decent drive for Ottawa, beginning back at the 12, and much of it because of Michael Richardson. He's close to another first down. Gerhart's the tackle on Michael Richardson. He has at least 9.
Well, once again, it's the right side of that offensive line. You got David Black and Chris Burns, and, you know, they get the big circles here because they're doing a heck of a job. James Monroe, the center, cuts down Maurice Miller, and, you know, they really took San Antonio off guard there, 2nd and 10, and they run the ball just off tackle, and, you know, they've set themselves up for another 3rd down gamble. James Monroe, the center's in for the injured Irv Damon, and, you know, he threw a great block on Maurice Miller on that play.
This offensive line is completely revamped from the start of the season. 3rd down, a yard to go, Ottawa. Ware will hand out to Richardson. He breaks one tackle, could be gone. Oh, he's tripped up. He has a first down, though. Mo Miller got to him. But it looked like Michael Richardson might have an opportunity to take it a little farther.
Now, what a spin move by Mike Richardson. Here's Maurice Miller. Hey, these guys are going to meet out here in the hole, and watch the spin back to the inside. Here's Maurice. He's flowing. He's flowing. He's got him in his sights. Boom, and all of a sudden, with this spin, Maurice Miller comes up grabbing air, and Richardson gets a first down. Well, that's a great spin.
Inside the 30-yard line is Ware on first down. Looks to the end zone, and it's a Turner. Season for Odessa Turner.
And what a way to cap off that drive. 98 yards later, Andre Ware will step up and throw his 2nd professional touchdown in the CFL. And Odessa Turner with the catch. He got the good position inside on Bobby Humphrey. And he has made a lot of big plays for this club this year, but this is a big play to get Ottawa back into this football game. Oh, what a confidence builder that drive was.
It really was a lot of Michael Richardson, and Ware waited for Turner, and here's a free one. Odessa Turner has something to celebrate, so does Andre Ware. Riders are back in it.
We'll get you back to Frank Clair in just a moment or two. Coming up at McDonald's halftime, we'll have a preview of the big matchup tomorrow between the BC Lions and the Edmonton Eskimos. Mike Saunders, what a story he is. We'll tell you all about it. And John and Leif will give us their first half thoughts. A crucial drive. The Ottawa's Rough Riders are back in it.
We're back in Ottawa, ready for the kickoff from Wayne Lamley. He squibs this one. It's rolling through to Wilhite. Pretty good head of steam for Wilhite. He's upended at the 39-yard line. One more peek at a pretty nice play here. Andre Ware to the end zone for Odessa Turner. 7th touchdown catch of the season. That could make this a ball game.
It really could. That was a critical drive, and you look, and I would hazard a guess that that may be one of the best drives Ottawa's had all season long, to have 10 successful plays back-to-back like that to go 98 yards and get the touchdown. And that's Jerry Keeling to the left of Andre Ware, the offensive coordinator, and he must be pretty thrilled with that last drive.
2:07 to halftime. Troy Mills taking it as he rolled out of the backfield. Brett Young was there, 23. He had a little help from Manny Martin, number 7.
Now there's Jerry Keeling. Maybe you can listen in.
San Antonio.
Which one? 300? What'd you have there? You just gotta stay solid.
I think Jerry's telling him, do it again.
And why not? 2nd and 5 facing Archer now. He's got time. Well, Mills makes a beautiful one-handed catch. Troy Mills stuck one hand out, and it stuck like glue. 25-yard gain. And the Ottawa Rough Riders didn't need that. But there's a marker down back at the line.
Holding. San Antonio, number 60. Second down repeated.
Ottawa has had a few breaks in this ball game, Lee.
Well, they have, and they got one right there, but I'll tell you, I know it's coming back, but I asked for this replay because this is one of the prettiest catches you're ever going to see. Look at that. I mean, that's a lot of stickum on that left hand. Troy Mills hauled it in. It doesn't count, but it sure was worth a look.
He'll put it on his personal highlight reel and never tell a soul that the catch didn't count for anything.
Say, this led to the winning touchdown.
2nd and 15 after the holding call. Archer, Mills. Boy, oh boy. Football can be a funny game at times. Hey, you can stick the left hand out and cradle the ball right into that. And a simple little catch like that, turning around, and Troy Mills couldn't bring it in. It was 2nd and 15, and really not a major factor.
Well, you look at the yardage contribution from these two running backs today, what they give the team, and yes, David Archer will use these guys a lot. Well, you know, this is what Ottawa wanted. They have the 98-yard, 10-play drive, and now they get San Antonio through a penalty, a quick 2 and out, and they're going to get the ball back to an offense that has to be feeling pretty good about themselves.
Decent field position for Ottawa, barring the unforeseen here. Jordan steps into it. Mark Ricks waits at the 35. Bobbled it there. And he left about 3 on the return.
Jordan's 38-yard run taken by Ricks. No return on the play.
Andre Ware has improved his numbers substantially since that scoring drive. 7 of 13 for 70 yards, but the drive really consisted of a lot of Michael Richardson.
Well, you look at those numbers. I mean, last time we showed you the numbers, he was 5 of 10, and that was before that, or at the beginning of that drive. So, you know, they went 98 yards, and he only had to complete 2 balls to do it. That's what Michael Richardson gives this team, and that's what they've really been missing for the last 8 games that he's been out.
All-Canadian at 93 is a member of the Blue Bombers, Michael Richardson. Ottawa beginning at the 34. And Richardson gets the call, lost the ball, and it's recovered by Texas, or by the Texans, I should say. It was James King in the backfield, and Tom Gerhardt came up with it. Little mix-up in the backfield here. Gerhardt comes up with a turnover.
Well, you want to see some strength from James King. I mean, here he is at the top of the screen. Here's Deion Strother. Strother's supposed to block King, but watch what happens. Strother gets pushed right back into Michael Richardson. But look at that. I mean, that's a double takeout right there by James King. The ball's loose, and San Antonio has the fumble recovery. But, I mean, he pushes Strother right into Michael Richardson. Richardson had no chance.
Sometimes whatever can go wrong does go wrong in Ottawa, doesn't it?
Well, talk about strength. I mean, Strother wasn't ready for that block.
Archer stands in after a play-action fake. Markers are down. Murphy knocked it away. Archer ended up on his backside. And the pass was intended for Kittrick Taylor. A couple injured ball players down there.
It's going to be rough play against Ottawa, I'm sure, on David Archer. There was a late hit.
Ottawa, number 97. First down.
That's Horace Morris with the late hit, I do believe. 97.
And it's a good call. You know, you've got to protect the quarterbacks. Here's Horace Morris right in the middle of your screen. And, you know, clearly the ball is gone. And, hey, you've got to have enough control to stop yourself and not hit the quarterbacks. And to the officials' credit, Al McColeman's credit, they're going to call that. Even if it's marginal, you have to call it, and you have to protect those guys.
Manny Martin is down. He was the starting right halfback. Remy Trudell already on the sideline. So Ottawa has used, with Dan Murphy moving into Trudell's spot, the only listed backup member in the secondary. So Jim Gilstrap will have to make some rather clever adjustments here.
Well, there's a look at James King on the sidelines and what an impact he has made in this first half of play. I mean, he is a load coming from the rush end spot. And he's originally a linebacker, and he has that speed.
You got us one. Arrested him. Got him. We caught him stealing. He had to go down, baby. Had to get down when he caught him stealing. We caught us one stealing now. They should have won already.
Couple of years in Saskatchewan for James King.
Give up that right. Anything you say, Kenny, will be used. See, quarter long. There you go, big cat.
See, that's why they're called the bounty hunters. They caught him stealing. See, you don't, they didn't just make up that name. They earned that name. It's the ball hocking group down.
Doesn't he look like you take wild lamb? This guy right here looks like Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah, they got this nickname, the Bounty Hunters, over the last couple of games.
We're going to work them, baby.
13 turnovers created. 4 went for touchdowns. The guy in the middle, Mo Miller, had 3 of those. A couple of fumbles and 1 interception. Manny Martin looks like he might be back, but not for this play. So who have they slid in there into the secondary? Is it number 44? Dwayne Knight moving back from a linebacking spot, it looks like, Leaf.
That's scary.
Yeah, you got a linebacker
scary.
playing halfback.
I'll tell you, if I'm David Archer, I'm having a look at that when they made the adjustment, and that'll be the area that I go at. He's got Billy Hess lined up on Dwayne Knight out there.
Archer with time now. Flips it ahead for Mills. He's headed to the end zone, and he'll score. Troy Mills made the play work all by himself. Took a little shovel pass from David Archer.
And that's tough. They had a chance to trap Troy Mills. Here he is, and at this point he's just a safety valve sneaking out, and when David Archer gets in trouble, now he's just looking for the closest white jersey he can find and just dump the ball off. Look at there, Mills. He makes himself a good target, and he's going to get a nice block from Billy Hess near the end right there. Coming back, and that allowed him to get into the end zone, and San Antonio answers pretty quickly that Ottawa score with one of their own.
That touchdown, the result of a turnover, a fumble by Michael Richardson deep inside Ottawa territory, and the Texans are quick to capitalize.
Well, you look at their 22 points, 14 have come off a penalty and now a fumble, so that makes it tough. There's another good ground level. Look at the moves here and the acceleration. Talk about a back that gets it into high gear in a hurry.
And he ran by Dwayne Knight, number 44, in there in the secondary with the injury to Manny Martin. 22-7, Texans leading the Rough Riders. Still 1:06 to go till halftime. Costly turnover right after Ottawa had scored a touchdown to get back into the ball game. The fumble sets up Kay Stevenson and the San Antonio Texans for another touchdown. Here's how it looks with Mills into the end zone for his second receiving touchdown of the season. It took just 2 plays to cover 26 yards. Mills a 13-yard reception.
Well, you look at San Antonio and a couple of key acquisitions during the middle of the season to round out this team. Obviously, one is Troy Mills, and the other is Maurice Miller in the middle. You talk those 2 guys coming back to the club has taken this club from a middle-of-the-road team to an upper echelon team.
Here's Nigel Williams at the 21. This guy has great speed, and he put it to use here. Markers are down as he crosses the 35.
54-yard kickoff taken by Williams.
4.4 speed on Nigel Williams. 15-yard return that time after a 54-yard kickoff. Penalty against Ottawa. An illegal block signaled by Al McColeman with an even minute to go.
Illegal block. Ottawa number 20. First down.
And that's Sean Ralph, a newcomer out of the University of Ottawa who hasn't had a great deal of CFL experience. Andre Ware
They'll start first and 10 from their own 23.
has a minute to put some points on the board before the half. Time on this throw. Odessa Turner makes the catch. Malcolm Frank makes the tackle. Gain of 7 yards. Turner has the only touchdown of the afternoon for Ottawa.
John, one of the stories we were going to follow today is Chris Sangaris. His assignment is to find Tony Burse on all these kicking situations. You see him searching around. He finally gets him and drags him down, but this has been a pretty interesting matchup on every kicking situation. Sangaris has to find Burse and then try and, make a good block on him.
Nigel Williams on a quick toss slanting in from Andre Ware.
Williams with the catch.
50 seconds till halftime.
Second down and 8.
Gain of a couple. This is 2nd and 8.
You mentioned Nigel Williams' speed at 4'4". He doesn't look fast because he's so tall at 6'4". You know, he can fool some defensive backs. Before you know it, he could get by you.
Turner was the intended target. Malcolm Frank covering, and some fans on the south side suggesting that there might have been a call, but there is no marker on the field.
You know, one of the things you worry about a young quarterback, does he read coverage? Now, you've got Turner on the outside, you've got Nigel Williams. Now, stop it right here. I mean, this is the guy you got to throw to. He's going to get into this hole, and yet Ware doesn't read it and wants to go outside with double coverage, you know, help over the top. And, you know, as a young quarterback, he's going to look at the film tomorrow, and Jerry Keeling's going to say, hey, you got to throw to the slot in that. He was in that hole that's created in the zone, and stay away from the double coverage outside. So it is a learning process for Andre Ware.
Lamley across his 25, fairly deep. It'll bounce for David Lucas, or will he get a chance to make a play on it? Markers are everywhere with riders in that 5-yard area, although Lamley down there himself on the bounce back was one of them, so we'll see.
I don't know why Dave Murphy was trying to touch the ball himself. It looked like he was trying to bat it, and you know, of course he'd have no yards called against him. And
No yards. Ottawa number 29. 15-yard penalty, first down.
I guess it's that American college experience for Murphy, right? At Acadia.
Well, you know, you're going to get a look at him to the left of your screen, and you know, right there,
he was going to touch the ball.
I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he thought it hit the San Antonio player. He's a Canadian guy. You're not supposed to make those kind of mistakes.
That American training at Acadia. My gosh. Murphy gets a chance to play with Trudell on the sidelines with a concussion.
And Manny Martin's back in the game, so no longer do they have to play Dwayne Knight, the linebacker, and halfback.
35 seconds for David Archer to try and put more points on the board for the Texans. It's intercepted. Stock was the intended receiver, and it bounced right to Ray Bernard.
Well, Ottawa needs some breaks. Ray Bernard's made a couple of good plays on the running game, and here he is right there, and you watch him go back into pass coverage, and the old tip drill, he's watching Archer's eyes, and when the ball's in the air, now he flows to the football, and that's a pass that Mark Stock should have made the catch, and all of a sudden you get the tip, and it's an interception.
Bernard has had a troubled season in Ottawa getting into the lineup. He wasn't around for the start of the season, missed a couple of games. This is his first one back.
He had a separated shoulder. He had a bad knee early in the year. It hasn't been a fun season for him.
Ware intended it for Alexander. It was tipped well before that. Tipped by Mo Miller.
You like that name? Well, I like
Mo Miller. We called him Maurice for a while, but
he's a Mo.
Found out his nickname is, or he's more oftenly referred to as Mo.
Yeah, I like that Mo.
And he has given the defense a little bit of momentum.
You betcha.
Coming back into the lineup.
Before the flag was thrown.
No penalty on the play. Flag dropped inadvertently.
It was an inadvertent penalty marker on the field.
Here's Maurice Miller right in the middle, and he, like Ray Bernard did on the previous play, reads the quarterback's eyes. Now, when he turns back, he just flows, reads the eyes, and then has the speed to flow to the play, and almost had the interception.
Ware on 2nd and 10, going deep and too far. James Ellington, not quite enough speed to catch up to that one, with Jason Wallace well in behind the intended receiver.
And Bill Bradley, who's the defensive coordinator for San Antonio, his defenses are almost impossible to go deep on in 2nd and long unless they're in a blitz situation, which they weren't. And, you know, Andre Ware is going to learn these things that, you know, on 2nd and 10, it's very difficult to go over a San Antonio secondary over the top, but he's got to go in that 12 to 15-yard range. That's where the holes are.
3rd and 10, and some of the Ottawa fans wanted Gilstrap to take a little shot at the end zone here with 20 seconds on the clock. Instead, he's got Lamley in there.
You know, you asked me in the opening of our show what kind of quarterback might Andre Ware be. I mean, certainly he has potential, but the learning process is going to be long for him.
Lucas on the return. Got away from the first wave, battled back to about the forward point of progress when he ran into the first Ottawa group upfield. And that took 12 seconds on the clock, unofficially 8 seconds for David Archer till halftime.
I'm sure as Ottawa's defense comes out on the field, you know, David Archer will probably just down the football himself. That would be Case Stevens' kind of strategy. But if he chooses to hand off, I'm sure Ray Bernard and his defensive mates are talking about try and strip it, create a turnover. Maybe we can get lucky and get an easy field goal here. But I have a feeling Archer will just down it himself.
Unofficially 8 seconds, and that's down to about 5 seconds now. Troy Mills has the most recent touchdown for San Antonio, and that gives him a total of 1 touchdown today and 12 on the season. I should say 6 rushing touchdowns and 1 receiving touchdown coming into the game. So he has 8. That'll do it to halftime at Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa. The San Antonio Texans head to the dressing room smiling with a 22-7 lead. Stay with us now for the McDonald's halftime reports.
McDonald's halftime, presented by your local McDonald's restaurant. Here's Darren Detition.
Welcome to McDonald's halftime. It's a relatively busy day in the CFL, and later this afternoon, the Toronto Argonauts are in Calgary. It's a case of David versus Goliath. Calgary's up there in almost every important category in the CFL. Number 1 offensively, 3rd defensively, 3rd in giveaway takeaway, but most importantly, best record in the league at 12-1. So how do the Argos at 2-11 beat them? Pack a lot of stones and pray, but the Stamps are taking nothing for granted.
We know that everybody that we face from now on, whether they are 2-10 or 10-0, I mean, it doesn't matter that we have to be up, because at this point in the season, going into the playoffs, we want to be on an upward roll, not on a downward slope, trying to fight to get back up.
The thing that really is important for the Calgary Stampeders, though, is to realize what's gone on here in the past. We've really breezed through the early parts of the season. We start to tail off a little bit towards the end of the season, and we falter in the playoffs. And that's one of the things that we've been talking about. And we have to guard against that. We have to make sure that we start playing some sharp football, some of the best football that we play all year long. We want it to be in this home stretch. So hopefully we'll start to turn that. The game that we learned in Winnipeg, hopefully we got, a bit of a kick in the pants. We'll learn something from that, and we'll start to play dominant football the way we did early in the season and start this game against Toronto.
Now, last Friday night, the Edmonton Eskimos walked into BC Place and beat the Lions quite handily, 33-18. The win gave them a share of 2nd place in the North Division with 9 victories. Tomorrow afternoon, it's the rematch at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton. Ken Chilivek has more.
It was a huge win by the Eskimos last week in BC Place, because for the first time they have beaten one of the league's better teams this season. And now they have to try and do it again. Now, the BC Lions have won a regular season game here at Commonwealth Stadium in each of the last 5 years. So overconfidence should not be a factor by the Eskimos.
I don't get that feeling from the guys at all. I mean, it's a sense of, we're in the mode now that we got to fine-tune things for playoffs. And we need the 2 points to stay competitive for us having to share 2nd place. So we just got to go out and play ball. I mean, we can't be concerned about all that other stuff, about being let down or who we beat or how many points we scored in the last game. We just got to go out and play ball.
We feel very good offensively right now, what we're doing. We understand what we got to do to win the game, so we've got a lot of confidence in our ability.
One of the cautions I think we always take as a team is not to get too caught up in our own success. To keep up with the same work ethic and, realize that, they are a good team, they're a physical team, and when they're playing their best football, I mean, they're very tough to beat.
So that's a story here in Edmonton. A win by the Eskimos would give them sole possession of 2nd place, so a big game coming up. Darren, back to you.
Thanks very much, Ken. Also tomorrow, the Saskatchewan Roughriders will kick off a key home-and-home stand with the Stallions at Taylor Field. Saskatchewan now tied for the 5th and final playoff spot with the Bombers, facing the uphill battle following their home-and-home with Baltimore. It's 2 games with the Stamps, then BC. And finally, the CFL ramps up week number 14. Shreveport Pirates are in Birmingham. The Pirates season is done, but the Barracudas, they are tied for the playoff spot with the Memphis Mad Dogs, who have the week off. We'll take ourselves a short break. When McDonald's halftime, returns, we'll take a closer look at the multi-talented back Mike Saunders. We leave you with the North and South standings. Without him, the Riders have struggled, as in the offseason, the free agent flew south to San Antonio, where he's found a new home.
The reason we chose San Antonio was it was a family decision. You know, my wife and I, had equal say in it. You know, it's a great team. These guys have been together in Sacramento for the most part, you know, most of the guys. And having played against them, you know, I know that they're a good team. I know that they were, a championship caliber team, and that's really what we're looking for. You know, I don't know, you can call it greed at that point or selfishness, but when you have the opportunity to choose, you know, you want to choose a winning team. You want to go someplace where you can help a team get over the top and get to a championship, and you know, this is what we felt here in San Antonio. Football players are football players, you know, regardless of, you know, what nationality they are. They're, you know, to be at this level, you're hard workers, you know, all have skill to be here, you know, somewhat juvenile, you know, I mean, that just goes as being as being a football player. It doesn't really have much difference between, you know, what side of the board you come from.
This is Mike Saunders, rolled to the outside, and he'll score. Mike Saunders into the end zone.
Our offensive line has played outstanding. You know, it's a good, solid group of really 6, you know, maybe 7 guys in rotation that have gotten real comfortable with each other, and in turn allowed me to be comfortable with them. And our offense is a pretty solid offense. You know, we're not going to go out there and kill ourselves. You know, obviously, you know, you'd like to go out and score every time you touch the ball, but you know, that doesn't happen anywhere. But you know, as an offense and personally, I've been real satisfied with how we've done so far. I don't look at it as being tough. You know, I look at it as me having the opportunity to affect, you know, almost every play, you know, we have offensively. You know, I don't want to, you know, I'm the kind of athlete, I don't want to go out there and have to depend on everybody else all the time. You know, I just assume they depend on me. You know, that's why you ask any running back, they assume have the ball in their hands than have the ball in somebody else's hands watching them. And so I welcome that. You know, I think the toughest thing was probably just conditioning. You know, knowing that the ball's going to be in my hands, you know, 50, 60% of the time. And, you know, and I'm happy with that. And, you know, I think Coach Stevenson is happy with the fact that, you know, the ball's in my hands.
Mike Saunders having a great season with the Texans. They are indeed a very tough team, and they're taking it to the Ottawa Rough Riders this afternoon by a score of 22-7 at the half. We'll take ourselves another break. Coming up next, we will recap our game story. John and Leif will give us their first half thoughts. Stay tuned. We're back in a moment.
McDonald. He was the CFL's most outstanding Canadian player in 1960. More on Ron Stewart in a moment. Only 5 foot 8 inches tall, Ron Stewart was a much larger presence on the football field for the Ottawa Rough Riders. He played 13 seasons for the Riders, but in 1960, in a game versus Montreal, he rushed for 287 yards, a CFL record that still stands. You can see more on Stewart and other CFL legends at the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in Hamilton. McDonald's Halftime, brought to you by your local McDonald's restaurant.
Welcome back to McDonald's Halftime. On now to our game story. In the story of the first half, David Archer with 3 touchdown passes. He now has 19 on the season. He was picked off once. Mills and Saunders, 123 total yards. Ottawa with only 137 net yards. That's the whole team. Points off turnovers, San Antonio with 7. They lead it comfortably, 22-7. Let's go back to the park. John and Leif are standing by, and guys, the Texans looking sharp.
And Darren, of that 137 yards net for Ottawa, 98 yards on one drive when Richardson carried the ball much of the way for Andre Ware.
Well, you know, it was an interesting first half. Ottawa looked down and out in the first quarter, and then they came back a little bit in that second quarter with the one terrific drive. But it's the same old story for Ottawa: mistakes, mistakes, and more mistakes. And when you keep making them, it's tough to stay in games.
Yeah, the key for Ottawa, they could have been a little bit closer had it not been for the fumble by Michael Richardson that set up David Archer's third touchdown of the afternoon. That's the story at the half, and 22-7, San Antonio on top. Beautiful sunny fall afternoon. Roman Anderson kicking it out for San Antonio. This is Nigel Williams at the 25. Williams cuts it up, trying to break one tackle. He's out to the 32. And all the numbers from the opening half favor the Texans on the left. 198 yards passing for David Archer, 222 net. One turnover led to a touchdown. And time of possession favoring San Antonio, 16-19 to 13 and change for Ottawa.
Well, I think one of the surprising things to me was to see only San Antonio with 42 rushing yards in that half. I kind of felt like they would come out and really establish that, but they've thrown the ball so well. They haven't needed to run today, which is kind of unusual for them.
Ware good on 50% of his passes, and Nigel Williams drops his third of the afternoon in tight coverage that time, as Mo Miller was with Nigel Williams, number 98.
Well, you look at how Andre Ware has tried to move the football around today. You know, Odessa Turner, who's been the big play guy, has the most catches. But, hey, how about Ray Alexander at the bottom? He's got the big goose egg right now. And when you talk about a guy that can get you back in a game in a hurry, it is Ray Alexander. And somehow they have to try and isolate him and get the ball to him.
2nd and 10. Ware going deeper. Williams has got it! A foot race to the end zone. Williams beats out Charles Franks. Drop one, catch one. 76-yard touchdown for Nigel Williams. That's his second in his young CFL career.
Boy, John, this is why Nigel Williams is getting playing time. He's had a couple of drops, but then he'll come up with the big play as he does right here, his second touchdown of the year, and that is a heck of a catch up over the top of Charles Franks, the middle safety, to concentrate, to bring it in, and all of a sudden, he's got Ottawa back in this game in a hurry on their opening possession of the third quarter.
Andre Ware to Nigel Williams, 76 yards, 6 points.
What it work, baby? Let's go. Let's go.
That's a heck of a play, and Andre Ware threw his first pro touchdown to Nigel Williams, and now he comes back, and that's the second touchdown pass that Nigel Williams has caught. Watch concentration here. That's a heck of a fingertip catch, and you know, one that gets your team back into a game, and that's an enormous play. That's why you give Nigel Williams playing time. He's going to make mistakes, but he can also make plays like this. That's a great throw, too. San Antonio, as I said in the first half, is a tough team to throw deep against, but he just threw it right over the top of that zone.
Right on the fingertips. Williams takes it the rest of the way.
And not to be forgotten, John, is the time that Andre Ware is getting to throw. Yeah, there's been some pressure today, but that revamped offensive line has done a pretty good job so far in this game to give Ware time to throw the football.
Nigel Williams, a graduate of the Hamilton Junior Hurricanes. Andre Ware out of Houston, a former Heisman Trophy winner.
Nigel Williams has been bothered by back spasms this week. In fact, yesterday was having some problems with it. There was some question whether he would be able to play, but, you know, he came to the park today and everything was feeling pretty good, and he looked awfully good on that one.
Lucas and Wilhite. This is Wilhite from his 10. Reed made the tackle near the 27. Kay Stevenson had a more comfortable look on his face at halftime. David Archer coming in for the second half, good on 14 of 21 for almost 200 yards.
And those 21 attempts, is almost like a full game for Archer, the way the team has played this year with the running game. But today he's pretty comfortable, and this is a team that certainly spreads it around. You see 2, 4, 6, 7 players have caught passes in the first half, and that's tough on a defense. There's not really any one player you can key on unless it's the running backs.
Play action fake. Archer buys a lot of time. Counted away for Billy Hess, and that'll be a first down, Texans.
Hess with the catch.
Hess stepping out near the 45.
Well, you know, Archer had the time to throw, and he just had to dump it over top of the linebackers. And there you see what perfect touch on that pass to get it into Billy Hess. And, you know, it was strictly the amount of time he had to wait for Hess and then dump it in. Hess almost knocked Garney Henley over there on the sidelines.
We note that Remy Trudell is back in at his regular safety spot after suffering a slight concussion in the first half. First down, San Antonio. Mills coming into the backfield, takes the toss. Away from Ray Bernard. Away from one more. Mills still going. Trudell can't bring him down. Here's Mills. Slowed and brought down at last by Brett Young, number 23. 54 yards and no markers anywhere.
Mills brought down by Brett Young.
This is what makes San Antonio so effective. Here's Mills. He's just going to catch the screen pass, but watch Ray Bernard at the end. And this happens to Ray Bernard far too many times. He gets going so fast, he can't recover and break down and make the tackle. Watch right here. Boom. He just runs right by him, and now it's clear sailing for Troy Mills down the sidelines. But, you know, Ray Bernard really has problems with that. He can't gather himself, break down, and make the play. There, he just overruns, doesn't even get an arm on him.
And Ricardo Washington had an opportunity there, too. Set up at the 10. This is Mike Saunders on first down. Trudell has moved up to help out with the tackle. Kropke and Horace Morris were there initially. This guy's a pretty good football player. Troy Mills, 114 yards receiving. And one touchdown today.
When you think San Antonio's backs, you really think of Mills as the runner and Mike Saunders is the receiver, but they've kind of reversed that today. Mills has caught all the balls, and Saunders done most of the running.
Texans second and goal to go at the Ryder 8. Archer stands in, fires. Wise couldn't bring it down. That's Myron Wise. Trudell was there, but so was Ricks to get a hand on it. Actually, Ricks made the play.
And that ball hung up just a little bit, and that allowed Mark Ricks, 17, to come through and scrape it away from Myron Wise. You'll see the hand come in and rip it down right there. The right hand, and looked like Wise maybe had a touchdown, and Mark Ricks got in there and stripped it loose. I mean, now, you know, second look there, that wasn't that bad a throw. That was just a great play by Mark Ricks to do the next best thing, strip it loose.
Field goal try. Roman Anderson. Sharp angle. And he's got this one. Roman Anderson hitting on about 88%. Has a couple today. San Antonio has a 25-14 lead.
That's the winner.
Back live in Ottawa. The Texans have scored again. It's 25-14. Second half just nicely underway. Anderson preparing for the kickoff. Ricks and Williams deep. Mark Ricks at the 20. Looking for a block. Not much there. He's up near the 35.
Anderson's 54-yard kickoff taken by Ricks.
CFL Live, brought to you in part by NGK Spark Plugs, the spark of genius. And by Dodge Trucks, Canada's truck stop.
Andre Ware and the Ottawa Rough Riders trying to get that quick touchdown back. Ottawa has scored in the second half. San Antonio replied with a field goal. Ware with some pressure, got it away for Richardson. Calls for a block, didn't quite get it. Cavness 24 in on the tackle.
Michael Richardson brought down by Cavness.
It's pretty interesting looking offensive play. They kind of run the play action fake in here, and then Richardson will just slide over and take the screen pass. A little fake there, freeze. Now the screen, and he just needed to get that one block on Grady Cavness right there, but couldn't get it. But see how Grady Cavness broke down, had his feet under him when he made the tackle, and that's the kind of thing Ray Bernard has to kind of do when he's out there.
Richardson grabbed 4. This is 2nd and 6. Ware looks to throw, and he's got a first down.
Now he made the right read. Remember, he made the wrong read on the hook pattern late in the 2nd quarter? Well, he makes the right read here. Odessa Turner on the hook, and you get a good look at it here. Here's Turner. He's going to go down and come in here, and that's where the hole is. And, finally Andre Ware goes to the right spot. There it is. That's the spot. There's the lane created. Ken Herrera's taken Maurice Miller to the inside, and now the lane opens up, and Andre Ware puts it in the right spot. See, that's what's good about having Ken Herrera in the lineup. I said he's a great guy against the zone. He sold himself out. He took a couple of guys to open up the lane so Turner could make the catch. And that's knowing the whole concept of the passing game and how to create an opportunity for one of the other players. And Kenny Herrera does a good job on it. See him in there?
That's how Odessa Turner got hurt there on the tackle after making the catch. Grady Cavness on the tackle, and he looks like he's twisted an ankle. Turner had his 7th touchdown of the season earlier today.
He'll be back. I don't think that one's going to keep him out. He walked off under his own steam. See, Ken Herrera, go back to him, how he took 2 guys there to open the lane. I don't know why he's not getting more playing time. He's getting a little chance now, but to me, he's a starter.
He's in there now. They move Williams from slot back to outside receiver on first down. Strother has a couple as we send you back to Darren at CFL Control.
Thanks very much, John. We'll get back to the football game in just a moment. Time now to pass along a little hockey news. Martin Brodeur, one of the best young goaltenders in the game, has signed a 3-year contract with the New Jersey Devils worth a reported $5.2 million U.S. Meanwhile, Claude Lemieux still has not re-signed with the team and will not. They are going to trade him. Let's go back to Frank Clare.
2nd and 4, Ottawa. After a 6-yard gain by Strother, play action fake. Ware with time, and he one-hopped it to Nigel Williams. Bobby Humphrey, number 39, covering there. Jim Gilstrap has a little Texas in his blood. He's a former line coach for the San Antonio Riders in the World League of American Football. Alexander's still waiting for a pass to come his way.
Yeah, hasn't even really been the decoy clearing out so people can catch some balls underneath areas that he clears out. They have just simply ignored him today, and I don't think it's any kind of special coverage. I haven't seen it out there. It's just the fact that Andre Ware has worked mostly to the inside and to Odessa Turner when he's gone outside.
Lamley a little below average this afternoon, and he took too long. I'm not sure if he saw something in the head count or was just waiting to figure out the alignment that San Antonio had.
Ottawa number 9. 3rd down repeated.
Well, that's not his fault. The guys up front are picking out their men, and he doesn't call for the snap until one of those upbacks turns around and says, okay, everything's all right, we've got our assignment. So one guy will turn around and say, okay, Wayne, you're ready to signal for the snap.
So Lucas moves up about 5 yards.
See, they're all pointing out there. Now it's okay.
And this is another bad kick for Lamley. There will be no return if there's a positive in that. It rolls out at the 31. Ottawa trying to catch the Texans at Frank Clare Stadium this afternoon. Rough Riders down by 11 to the Texans of San Antonio. Midway through the 3rd quarter, Ticats with 3 straight losses head to Shreveport to take on the Pirates. October 7th, we'll have that one for you beginning at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific time. Forrest Gregg meets Don Southern as the Ticats try and get things straightened around.
Well, they had a shot last night, and a great catch by Earl Winfield at the end of the game that would have won it for Hamilton was nullified. Larry Thompson, their other fine wide receiver, offside. I mean, you talk about how you get gray hair as a coach. That touchdown pass called back will put a few more in Sudsy's hair.
Archer has been rolling along effectively this afternoon, beginning this sequence at the 30. And this is Mills. He's had a great day. fine run for Troy Mills to the 45, 15 yards, or pretty close to it. Knocked out by Mark Ricks.
Well, Ottawa made a switch. You know, Ray Bernard couldn't make the tackle on the last series where Mills ran so far, so they put Chris Sangaris in, and watch this right here. I mean, he doesn't fare much better. I mean, that's not even close. I mean, he was 2 yards short of trying to wrap up right there. So Ottawa right now struggling to find somebody that can really plug up in that middle.
Another Texans first down, this time at the 45. Archer with all day to throw, and he's got Billy Hess. Another first down at the Ottawa 45. Sangaris made the tackle. Gets a little tap on the backside from Remy Trudel. Sangaris shaken up again.
See, right away, you know, David Archer sees a new middle linebacker. He runs the trap up the middle. Now he runs a little play action, and he gets Sangaris looking the wrong way. Look at the eyes. You know, he's trying to figure it out, trying to search now. Now he knows it's pass, but he's looking short side, backside, and David Archer just reads the middle linebacker. Whichever way Chris Sangaris went, he threw the other way. And that's a good read by David Archer.
This is Troy Mills one more time. Grabbed from behind, and then followed on by number 44, Knights. Bernard is back in the ballgame at middle linebacker with Sangaris slightly shaken up.
And this is the thing that I like about San Antonio, as you see Ray Bernard, he's back in there. I mean, they mix it up so well. They really keep a defense guessing. They have come out throwing the ball much more than they normally do. You see Troy Mills only carried the ball 9 times, but now they're back to starting to pound away on the ground a bit again. But they haven't kept their normal pattern all day.
Archer had to hurry to get it away and found Hess again. Clemens slowed him down, but Hess gets inside the 35. He has 1 touchdown this afternoon.
And San Antonio loves to run the crossing patterns with their slot backs. This time it's Billy Hess coming all the way across the field. Now, he's not the primary receiver, but he becomes the safety valve. When Archer feels the pressure, he's got a guy right in front of him to dump it off to. I mean, I really like the way this offense is functioning. There you see their play selection. I mean, you know, that's usually opposite
to that. On first down, play action. It doesn't fool Ottawa as Horace Morris got through. Another sack for Ottawa.
So here's Horace Morris. I mean, one of his attributes is speed. He's only 237 pounds, and, you know, he uses speed right here on this pass rush. And, you know, he's working on Rob Stevenson on the outside leg. That's just a quick move to the inside, and Stevenson can't keep his feet moving, and Horace Morris, before you know it, is around him and gets the sack. But, you know, he's a little undersized, but what he gives you is a lot of speed at that rush end.
His 5th sack of the season. 3rd sack by Ottawa and Archer this afternoon. Second in a bunch as Archer stands in. He'll have a first down with Myron Wise making the catch at the 25. Texans are pretty excited about the fact that they're able to use all their receivers this time, or with this group of receivers in there.
And look at the sight line that David Archer had to throw downfield. His offensive line, you know, for the most part has protected him pretty well today. You look at only 28 sacks given up coming into this game this afternoon, which is 4th. I mean, last year they gave up 55 on the year, so they're going to improve immensely in that category.
First down for the Texans. Archer should have a touchdown. He does. Mike Saunders was wide open. You could see that coming from the other end zone. Mike Saunders, his 5th receiving touchdown of the season and his 11th total.
One of the concerns I had yesterday in our meeting with head coach Jim Gilstrap was, how are you going to handle Mike Saunders? And he said, well, our linebackers can run with him. Well, there's Dwayne Knight, 44, and he's about 10 yards behind him. And, you know, I kind of questioned that. I felt like, hey, that's a desirable matchup for San Antonio. And, you know, Coach Gilstrap felt that his guys could handle the job, but that's a huge mistake there by Dwayne Knight.
Anderson in to add 1 more of the Texas total. He puts this one right out of the yard. Another drive, another touchdown engineered by David Archer. Mike Saunders has his 11th touchdown of the season. Texans lead the Rough Riders 32-14 in the third quarter in Ottawa.
And John, you go back and you look at Dwayne Knight right here, and let it run. We'll follow him. You know, initially it looks like man-to-man coverage. You got Mark Ricks on the outside. He's playing man-to-man, but whoa, stop it right there. Here's Knight. He lets Saunders go. He's thinking it's zone, but heck, that's your man. You've got to play man-to-man. That is one of those kind of coverages across the board, and there's the final result, completion to Saunders for the easy touchdown. But you know, whether Knight thought the coverage was something else, I don't know, but that's a big mistake.
Ricks returning for the Rough Riders out to about the 42 as markers come down. Following the game, the TSN Turning Point brought to you by Apple Auto Glass. Penalty marker was holding against Ottawa, so Andre Ware will start a little deeper in the Rough Rider zone back at the 29.
Well, things look so promising for Ottawa. They come out, and on their first possession of the third quarter, they get the quick touchdown to Nigel Williams. All of a sudden, it's 22-14, and, you know, 10 minutes later, it's now 32-14, and Ottawa's in big trouble.
Richardson, and there's nowhere to go for Michael Richardson, number 31. Maybe a yard. Very impressive drive engineered by David Archer. Finished off by a 23-yard touchdown toss to Mike Saunders in behind all members of the Ottawa secondary. That's a season-high 4 touchdown tosses for David Archer. 4 in one afternoon is the best that Archer's done. Andre Ware looking at 2nd and 9 for Ottawa. Here's the charge. Ware takes out. First run of the afternoon. And it worked rather well. He'll have a first down. Stopped by Tom Gerhardt. That's what Gilstrap was saying. This guy can run the football. That's the first time he's taken off.
But sometimes you have to tell a quarterback that he better start running a little bit, because when you're young like this, you want to impress everybody with how you read defenses, how you can complete balls. But one of the things that may make you even more effective is to run with the football, pressure that line of scrimmage, and Andre Ware has to do a lot more of what he just did.
Ware gets the first down for Ottawa, and he'll take off again. A little more of a quarterback draw this time. He looked to run. He looked like he was thinking run a little more quickly that time. Here's the way the numbers add up so far this afternoon in Ottawa. San Antonio out to an 8-0 lead. Outscoring Ottawa 14-7 in the second quarter. Ottawa scored the first touchdown of the third quarter, but San Antonio added 10 points since that. That result 32-14 as it stands right now. 2nd and 4. Ware pumps once. Odessa Turner couldn't hang on. And Malcolm Frank was covering on Turner that time.
It's a pretty good pressure coming up the front from Willie Fear, 78, initially on David Black. He beats the block, and he's right in Ware's face, but Ware put it to the right spot. That was where the hole was. When you throw against a zone, sometimes you have to put it into the open area and expect your receiver to make the adjustment. Odessa Turner was just a little late getting that adjustment. We're sliding back to the outside where the ball was thrown. But, you know, as a quarterback, that's not a bad throw. The receiver has to make the play.
Lamely kicking to David Lucas. Will he have a play? Not this time. Rolling out about the 24. That's better than the last punt. It traveled 38 that time. Lamley's last was only 26.
You know what I like about San Antonio? Teams run tendencies on themselves, and you know, Kay Stevenson knows his team is a run first, a play action second, and a throwing team third. But you know, they've looked at themselves, they've analyzed how their offense performs, and you know, he's come out and give Ottawa a whole different look today. And instead of, you know, Ottawa's thinking run, and Kay's come out and thrown the ball a lot more than they usually do, and you have to compliment them on that. They've tendencies themselves, and they've done a nice job.
And it's lovely to have both weapons in the arsenal, isn't it? That was Troy Mills, when you can run and pass effectively.
Well, there's no question that Troy Mills and Mike Saunders are the focal point of this offense. They've just used them a little differently than everybody thought they would today, but that's smart football.
Well, Mills has over 100 yards receiving. Archer's on a bit of a roll himself, 20 of 29, 336, and a season high, as mentioned a few moments ago, 4 touchdown passes. As you said earlier, these guys are just getting better by the week.
Well, that's what
Moving
you want
the
to
game
do.
up a notch.
When you get to that 14-game mark, you want to get to that 14-game mark, and now you just want those last 4 games and 5 games, you want to just be going up, 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 and get ready for the playoffs. So you're playing your best football right now and going towards the end of October and 1st of November. That's when you want to be the best, and they look like they're doing just that.
Archer just missed Myron Wise with 1:08 to go, third quarter.
He hasn't missed too many today.
Nope.
But he's thrown a lot of high percentage stuff, though. I mean, he's around 67% for the day, and it's because he's thrown a lot of high percentage passes.
Todd Jordan. That's his view of things with Mark Ricks. Here the 45 for Ottawa. Pretty good charge, but no problem getting it away. Here's Ricks. Malcolm Frank made the tackle. And Andre Ware gets another chance for the Ottawa Rough Riders. 2 touchdowns so far today, 1 interception, 12 of 24, just 173 yards.
They put a couple of neat series in for him, too. The dash and the counter bootleg to get him outside of the pocket. And, you know, he ran it once, the dash, and had no success. And you see almost close. Murphy and Manny Martin almost get that block. But, you know, I think Andre Ware, the more and more he plays, you know, the style will be to get him outside, much like a Tracy Ham. So he has some options. And here he goes.
Play action, and it's Ware looking to take off again. Lost the ball, and it's recovered by the Texans. Tom Gerhardt has it. Mike Shad almost rolled into it to save the day for Ottawa, but Gerhardt got there first. It was Mo Miller knocking it away from Andre Ware. Miller makes things happen on defense.
Boy, does he ever. There you see Andre Ware. Looks like he wants to tuck it here and go, and just as he does, look at the right arm of Miller comes out, knocks it loose. Gerhardt with the recovery, so yet another mistake for Ottawa, but I sure did like the play call. I mean, that's the kind of thing that Andre Ware is going to do and probably do well in time.
Second fumble recovery for Gerhardt. Third turnover by the Rough Riders. Archer. Look for Wise. And that should be the last play of quarter number 3. The Texans smiling at the turn of events here in Ottawa. The last time this team visited here, 1993, it was not a very happy occasion.
Holding. San Antonio, number 59. First down repeated. 1 more play in the quarter.
The last time Kay Stevenson and company were in Ottawa, they were known as the Sacramento Gold Miners, making a debut in the Canadian Football League. First ever international CFL game, and we talked about it earlier. We were here, but that was the day Archer got sacked 7 times and Ottawa won big time.
Kay's only got 5 players remaining from that team that opened up here in Ottawa. Archer's one, Mike Kiselak the center, Bobby Humphrey the corner, Jason Wallace and Charles Franks the other defensive backs. Those are the only 5 that remain from that 1993 team.
This is Stock making the catch, trying to find a little open field. Brett Young had him wrapped up by the sweater. And that'll be the end of the third quarter in Ottawa. Texans are all smiles with a 32-14 advantage at this stage. Back ready for the fourth quarter with San Antonio on top of Ottawa 32-14. Rough Rider management should walk around the stands and give every one of these Rough Rider fans a medal for supporting this football team through all these tough times. Ottawa's record since 1979, 81 wins, 189 losses, and 1 tie. And there's still people in the stands having a pretty good time.
They have some great fans here in Ottawa, John, and one can only imagine if they were at least at 500 or a little better and challenging for a definite playoff spot, what it would be like, because they have been loyal, they're boisterous, they have a good time at the games, and I share that with you. I compliment you.
Sammy Garza looks on with James Cias from the sidelines, but it's David Archer's football right now, and 2nd and long. Stock was the intended receiver. He couldn't come close to it. Through 3 quarters, Archer and the San Antonio Texans lead in virtually every category. 378 net yards to 252. Ottawa's turned it over 3 times.
You know, it's amazing. No, there you look at the 338 passing and the 67 rushing. I mean, this is great for San Antonio because, you know, other teams around the league that are going to see this film, they're going to say, hey, they're starting to throw a little bit more. Now, we've got to look at our defensive preparation a little differently now. So San Antonio is giving everybody else around the league a much different look and a lot more to think about from this game today.
Todd Jordan. Markers down as Jordan barely got it away. Big rush from Turner. This is Mark Ricks. Ottawa hasn't had much of a return game so far today. Oscar Giles leading the tacklers for the Texans. And their markers down. Al McColeman will sort things out. 11 yards on the return after a 40-yard punt. Wide receiver David Gamble went to the locker room and had to be taken there by ambulance in the first half. He has all the feeling back in both legs, but his right leg's still very weak, so the word sounds a little more encouraging.
Offside. 80, Ottawa. Penalty is declined. First down.
Penalty was offside against the right. It was declined by the Texans.
No wonder Turner almost got there to block it. Or at least got close.
First down for the 39.
(32-14) San Antonio leading Ottawa. Play action fake. Andre Ware looks to the far side. As the Duke and James Ellingson takes off. Markers are down. Knocked out by Gerhardt. Ellingson had a lot of territory on the far side, but we better sort out the penalty first. Indication against Ottawa.
Flag on the play.
Got a little holding out.
Holding. Ottawa number 51. First down repeated.
Well, you're going to get a good look at it right here, and anytime you get your hands extended, you know you have a great chance you're going to get called for holding. Here's David Black on Willie Fears right in the middle of your screen, and watch the left hand up on the shoulder pad. That's it. The arms are extended. If you can keep those arms in, you have a chance you won't get called for holding, but right there it's a good case, and that's why they call it, and all of a sudden a nice offensive play comes back and you're 1st and 20 instead of 1st and 10 on the other team's end.
Ottawa at the 29-yard line. We're into the 4th quarter. Michael Richardson has about 4. Willie Fears on the tackle. Fears had a little playing time with the Blue Bombers. 6 games with Ottawa as well in 1989.
Gain of a couple.
Yeah, the only blemish on his day would be that fumble that led to San Antonio's 3rd touchdown in the 2nd quarter. But other than that, you know, I think you can see right there what he means to this offense. They have a running game, and that 70 yards is well past their normal 61 a game they average as a team. So that's good stuff.
2nd and long again. This is picked out. And Frank has an opportunity. Has to be where he does. Malcolm Frank all the way for the touchdown. A 45-yard return on his 8th interception of the season. That one hung out a little bit for Ware. And more heartache for Jim Gilstrap.
You know, John, I played catch with Andre Ware yesterday for about 20 minutes, kind of see what his arm was like. And you know, every once in a while, he would throw me an absolute wobbly duck. And this is what happens to him right here. For some reason, he just doesn't get a good grip, and that's a sick-looking ball that's thrown to the outside when you've got to have a lot of zip on it, and pretty easy interception for Malcolm Frank, and he gets a touchdown to boot. But it was funny yesterday. He'd throw, boom, spiral after spiral. All of a sudden, he'd throw me a kind of an end-over-end one. And, you know, today now, it wasn't just me. You know, yes, now he's thrown another one, and it cost him a touchdown.
4th turnover. by Ottawa. And Malcolm Frank takes it 45 yards for the touchdown. Frank celebrating in the sidelines. It was a wobbly, wounded duck. And he raced for the TD.
CFL Live, brought to you in part by Peoples, bringing people closer for over 75 years.
Guess what we're ready for? Another Texas kickoff after another Texans touchdown. Nigel Williams to return for Ottawa. He's the guy with a great speed. One touchdown earlier. But not on a kick return. He's stopped at the 40 by Tony Burse. Number 28 as we send you back to Darren Detition at CFL Control. Andre Ware's last toss went for a touchdown the wrong way. Fifth touchdown set up by the defense, or scored by the defense, in 3 games for the San Antonio Texans.
And 7th defensive touchdown they've scored this year. I mean, this all of a sudden, this defense, which is pretty much a passive kind of defense, has turned into an attacking defense with 7 touchdowns of their own, and that's a record that they should be pretty proud of. You know, it's a tough throw to the wide side of the field. You have to get as much on it as you can, and for some reason that ball just kind of hangs forever.
They're looking around for a name for the defense in San Antonio. Someone came up with the Bounty Hunters, and that's the one they're sticking with a little bit.
They like that.
But in the same meeting, someone said, well, what should we call the defense? We need a nickname. And someone in the dressing room chirped up, how about calling it the offense? We're in trouble. Markers are down. And Ware is angry. First indication of the penalty against Ottawa. Gonna get this sorted out. There's a couple of markers down.
Andre Ware felt like Dave Harper, the linebacker, came in with a late hit on him. That's what he's upset about, but I don't think a flag was ever thrown for that.
Unsportsmanlike conduct against the Riders.
Yeah, he probably, you know, said something and got the unsportsmanlike. I think it had 4 letters in it.
And it wasn't darn.
Of course, Harper's feeling pretty good. He said, oh, no, send him back, send him back. He kind of got away with one because he was a bit late.
Holding Ottawa number 55. Penalty is declined.
That's Mike Shea.
We have objectionable conduct. Ottawa number 10. That penalty is applied. After the ball is dead, it will be 3rd down.
Well, you see if Ware has a complaint here as he goes down. 58 Harper. Actually, it was Lance Tickleman, 99. I thought it was Harper, but you'll see right here, and you be the judge.
Down there, he's forced in by another Ottawa player.
Oh, it was Harper. I was right, yeah.
But 59, James Monroe
pushed him in.
Pushed him into it. So Andre had really little to complain about there. Lamley across his 20 to get this one away. Bouncing for David Lucas. Finally takes it, draws a flag as Reed was in the 5-yard area. Couple of flags down there. We'll sort it out when we return to Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa. Folks, that was only a 29-yard punt. It's Kids Day at Frank Clair Stadium. A lot of young Rider fans of the future in attendance here. They're still having a pretty good time despite the score. I guess they can't see the scoreboard with the sun shining at it. It's 39-14. And Archer has the ball again. A one-hopper to Billy Hess. Sorted out our problems back at CFL Control. Let's bring in Darren Detition.
Hey, thanks very much, John. On to a little baseball. The National League wild card race continues. Colorado trying to nail down the spot. Billy Swift with the bunt.
Terry Mulholland. He'll throw it away. Vinny Castilla will come in to score. The Rockies jump out to an early 3-0 lead over the Giants. They went in 1 game up on Houston, 2 up on Chicago.
Wild Card Saturday, we'll try and keep you up to date on what's going on there. 2nd and 10 here at the 33. Archer right on the target. And on target for Myron Wise. He's inside the 40 at the 39. Jeter makes the tackle, number 19.
Once again, another good throw by Archer. He's had a nice day with the football. See how he's able to step up onto that front foot, and a couple of years ago he wasn't able to step up because there were so many people in his face, but now with an offensive line that's been restructured and a lot better. I mean, you look at them, and John Buddenberg, the left tackle, he's missed 1 game, and everybody else has played all games this year, so it's the same group and they're playing well.
I recall at first gold miner offensive line averaged about 330 pounds. Here's Mike Saunders. Squirts to the outside and comes up close to a first down, forced out by Ray Bernard. In Sacramento that first year, Leaf, it was an awfully big offensive line.
It was big and slow, but now they're quicker. And, you know, here's Mike Saunders. He dips it, gets all the way to the outside here. And, you know, this takes a long time to develop. So you got to hold your block for a long time. And look at Rob Stevenson, the right tackle. I mean, all these guys are able to hold their blocks for so long. And, well, you know, not only do they pass block well, you know, the run blocking, that's their forte, but the pass blocking has come with it, too.
Texans drive continues at the Ottawa 27, and Mills grabs a couple.
That's Mills.
Block wasn't made. Mills had nowhere to go. David Archer has tossed 4 touchdowns to his receivers this afternoon.
Well, that's David Gamble right there. He went out after that great catch in the first half, but good to see him up. And, you know, he's still got the right leg that's got the tingle in it and got the crutch. But, well, boy, you know, that's a good sign if he's up on his feet and able to watch the end of this ball game. For a moment there, it looked like, you know, he was in big trouble.
They took him off by ambulance, but he's up and on the sidelines now. Here's Archer on 2nd down. Billy Hess can't bring it down. Hess had a touchdown earlier, couldn't get behind Brett Young that time. 19,957 fans on hand at Frank Clair Stadium this afternoon.
And Brett Young is the best defensive back in that secondary. I said that earlier in the first half. Look at the recovery right here. And he gets over to distract Billy Hess just enough when it looked like Hess had an easy touchdown, and he distracted him enough that he couldn't make the catch. Well, I like the way Brett Young plays. I know it's been a tough year and all that for him, but he's aggressive. He'll come up and challenge any slot back in the league, and you know, I like his style.
10 knockdowns and 4 interceptions for Young on the season.
Yeah, it's been a good year for him personally. It hasn't been a good team defense year, but personally, he's done his job.
1 more for Roman Anderson, a few more points, make it 3 more points for the San Antonio Texans. Kay Stevenson has the San Antonio Texans on a roll. This is their 4th consecutive 40-point game. 42-14 it stands right now. Part of the reason the running core, Mills and Saunders, they call it sawmills at times, this group here. 52 rushing for Mills, 114 receiving. Saunders 25 rushing, 46 receiving, and a touchdown each.
And it's a lot of total yardage between 2 backs, and 4th time now this consecutive game that San Antonio scored over 40 points. Oh boy. Now this is the Ottawa guy. This is all the guys on the injured list right down in that corner, and they're kind of having their own little party here. I know the game's out of hand, so they're just chilling out down there and kind of wait until it's all over.
Ware in a little bit of difficulty as he looked for Nigel Williams and fired behind. Expos running out the season, as are the Blue Jays. We'll catch the Expos on TSN tonight against Cincinnati. 7:30 Eastern time. It'll be 2nd and 10 Ottawa with 8:09 to play, 4th quarter. Rough Riders have lost 6 in a row. They're headed for number 7 as Andre Ware sends a receiver deeper. And Odessa Turner didn't get the signal. Ware is down again. That's the second consecutive time he's been nailed.
Well, he's just trying to buy some time here. He knows the heat's coming. He knows he's going to take the hit from Lance Tickleman. He takes a good shot. Those hurt right up in that rib cage, and you know the defensive lineman, he's just pushing right through and going to take you down.
Still some loyal fans, and there's been a little talk that this might be the last season that Ottawa
there's still a lot of
football team in the CFL. But
there's a lot of talk around town. Does Horn Chen really exist? Apparently he does.
Not many have seen him in Ottawa. He is the owner of the Ottawa Rough Riders in 1995, and looking back over the years, there have been quite a few owners of this football franchise. 6 sets of owners in the last 8 or 9 years. Jim Kemp hitting on 53% of his passes when he's had the opportunity. May get sent in, and he will, by Kay Stevenson.
And I think this is a good move. Jim Kemp played well. You know, the one start he had that I remember was when the Calgary Stampeders were down in San Antonio. He had a terrific game, and San Antonio came up just a bit short, but they gave Calgary everything they could handle, and it was Jim Kemp who was the quarterback that went the distance in that game when David Archer was out. So this guy can play, and it's good for him to get a little playing time with 7.5 minutes to go.
First down for the Texans, and Kemp decides to take off himself. David Archer missed 3 starts for San Antonio earlier this season, and the better part of 4 ball games as a result of an injury sustained against Saskatchewan.
David Archer had a pretty good day today. Threw the ball well, used all his receivers. 7 receivers caught balls for him this afternoon, and I think he should be pretty happy with his performance.
Kemp looking at second and long. And looking long for Stock. He's got him. Stock spins around. And then he's spun out of bounds by Manny Martin, number 7. 28 yards for Mark Stock.
Well, San Antonio's hitting on all cylinders. They pick up the blitz, and watch Mark Stock right here. He's going to run the post corner. He gets Manny Martin turned right around and then takes it to the corner, but a great read by Kemp. Now he knows he's in a blitz situation. There's Martin turned all around, and he can't make the fast speed turn, and that's a terrific pass pattern by Mark Stock. You know, that wide receiver moving inside. Now he's got so much more field to work with, and he took advantage of that wide field, you know, and had lots of room to go back to the sidelines.
Texans set up at the Ottawa 40. Kemp to his right, and it opens up out there. And then closes rather quickly as Young moved up, and Kemp ended up in a collision over there. Was that one of the officials that went down into the bench? I believe Kemp stepped out, and one of the officials rolled into the San Antonio bench.
Well, you look at what San Antonio has done today to give defenses a different look in their play selection. This is a different look when you get Jim Kemp in there, because he can run the football. I mean, David Archer doesn't run. I mean, I don't think has the lack of mobility that a lot of people keep saying, but certainly when Kemp's in there, the threat to run becomes a lot more than when Archer's in there.
Kemp going for it, and he's got the touchdown to Myron Wise behind Eric Jeter. 37-yard toss. Kemp to Myron Wise, his first of the afternoon, 3rd of the season.
Well, this game's really out of hand now. Once again, they pick up the blitz. Look at all the time to throw for Jim Kemp, and he picks out Myron Wise, just flies by Eric Jeter, and Pretty easy touchdown catch for Wise, but uses his speed to just blow by the corner. But, you know, you're going to come with the blitz, and Remy Trudel was coming from the safety spot. You better get there. Your defensive backs are going to be really vulnerable, and Wise had a pretty easy trip into the end zone there.
Anderson one more for his total, and the Texans close in on a 50-point afternoon against the Ottawa Rough Riders. The Riders have given up 202 points in their previous 4 games for an average of better than 50 points allowed, and they're almost on the mark right there now.
Boy, John, you really see what happens when you don't get the pressure. I mean, here's Remy Trudel, the safety. I mean, he's supposed to be way back in here, but, you know, he tries and comes on to blitz, and he doesn't even get close. And, you know, Kemp senses this right away. Boom, he's thinking downtown. And he goes downtown with Myron Wise because he just is able to blow past Eric Jeter. And, you know, although they get the hit on Kemp, it's too late. And, you know, Wise, this isn't fancy. This is just, hey, get the guy out of his back pedal as fast as you can. Look, this is a sprint. That's a 100-yard dash kind of pass pattern there. Nothing fancy, just go as fast as I can go and hope that the ball's on target, which it was. I mean, that's great offense. You pick up the blitz and you sting him at the same time.
Myron Wise joins the touchdown club. David Archer threw 4 before he left the ball game for a bit of a rest, and now Jim Kemp has come in and tossed one more.
And you know, the old story always will come up that, hey, maybe they're rubbing it in now, 49-14, but
no, it's the backup
when
quarterback
you're Jim
getting
Kemp,
a chance, right?
That's it. I agree 100%. I just kind of want to bring that up. Some people may sit at home and say, well, why are they doing this to poor old Ottawa? Well, Jim Kemp wants to have some quality playing time, and, you know, I don't have any argument with that at all.
Bricks knocked out. Shy of the 35. They'll spot it at the 33. 17-yard return after a 60-yard kickoff, and still lots of time for the Texans to put some points on the board.
You know, I didn't really even talk about the throw that Jim Kemp made. I mean, that was a beauty. He just put lots of air time on it, and, you know, he judged the speed of his wide receiver perfectly. And, you know, that it's interesting to see that because he probably doesn't get too many reps in practice with the first team. He'd run the other team's offense all the time, and David Archer probably gets most of the work. So shows you that Jim Kemp's got some serious talent.
First down, Ottawa, beginning at the 33. Michael Richardson ran well earlier. Has about 5 yards right there.
Boy, immediately following the telecast, we'll have the Buick Open for you. 3rd round coverage. Fred Funk is the leader currently. Steve Stricker, one of my old buddies, is close by. I'd love to see him win his first PGA title. Been on the tour for 3 years and gained a lot of notoriety playing the Canadian Tour. And now he's in with the big boys and holding his own.
Andre Ware on 2nd down and better than 5, and he's got nowhere to go. Tegelman got there for the sack. Oscar Giles was right behind him.
Well, not much chance for Andre Ware. Everything's kind of just broken down and falling apart here. Lance Tickleman was working on the center, James Monroe. He just blew by him, and nowhere for Andre Ware to go. I believe that was Oscar Giles. You get 99 and 96. Those numbers sometimes are a little difficult to read, but we'll give Oscar Giles credit with his 7th sack of the season. Not bad for a guy that only plays part-time.
49-14, 17 more points added by the Texans in the 4th quarter. Lamley hasn't had a big afternoon punting. This should grade out a little bit better as Lucas is chased back to the 40. And again, markers are down with 4:09 to go at Frank Clair Stadium in Ottawa. 40-yard punts for Lamley. His average was well below that earlier.
Holding San Antonio, number 26 on the run back. 1st down.
It's Marcus Gates, a rookie out of East Texas State.
Penalty against San Antonio for holding.
Jim Kemp heads back into the ball game. He's Tossed for one touchdown already, moving in behind David Archer. Kittrick Taylor to the near side for Kemp. Myron Wise flank to the wide side of the field. And Tony Burse gets an opportunity, his first carry of the afternoon. Burse has rushed for 219 yards in behind Troy Mills and Mike Saunders when he gets an opportunity.
He kind of becomes the forgotten man in this offense now that Troy Mills got back. His playing time has been reduced, but he goes back a long way with Kay Stevenson in 1992 with the Sacramento Surge that won the World Bowl in the World League, and Tony Burse was an integral part of that team.
Kemp has trouble with this one and has to jump on it and hang on. Penalty markers down as well.
CFL Live on TSN. Brought to you by All Sport, the new All Sports drink for athletes. All Sport, the game will never be the same. And by Bell Advantage Long Distance Services, from the Alliance of Canada's only full-service telecommunications companies.
(49-14) with 3:12 to go. San Antonio rolling toward its 5th straight victory, as the Texans have been very impressive lately. Looking at 2nd and 12, Jim Kemp now from the Texans 36. Ottawa Rough Riders have lost too many in a row. 6 of their last 6. This will be loss number 7 for Ottawa. And Kemp goes deep, looking for another touchdown strike for Myron Wise and Scott, both in the area. And it was number 23, Brett Young, in the area, step for step. 3 minutes to go on another long afternoon for the Ottawa Rough Riders at Frank Flair Stadium. Well, one more of those long days for the Ottawa Rough Riders. 49-14 as it stands right now. Texans are set to kick it away. We're waiting. Here we go. High kick by Todd Jordan. Chasing Ricks back to the 22. Ottawa has not had a big return game going this afternoon. Giles leading the tacklers there. And we send you back to Darren Detition for a quick update at CFL Control.
Hey, thanks very much, John. The New York Yankees moved a step closer to postseason play today. They knock off the Toronto Blue Jays by a score of 6-1. Paul O'Neill homered off Al Leiter. It was a 3-run shot. Leiter falls to 11-11 on the year. The Yankees now clinch at least a tie for the wild card spot. California 1.5 back, pending the outcome of their contest tonight. They will take on the Oakland Athletics this evening. Let's head back to Frank Flair Stadium.
And a final offensive sequence here for the Ottawa Rough Riders. New quarterback at the controls, and Richardson is on the receiving end of the Sammy Garza toss. Andre Ware has started the last 2 games. Sammy Garza has watched from the sidelines. Hitting on 55% of his passes. A few too many interceptions for Garza here in Ottawa since coming over from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It's a chance to run a little bit here as Ware looks on from the sidelines, a little disappointed.
Mama said there'd be days like this.
You want to play pro football?
Well, the transition is not as easy as everyone thinks it is. Yes, he has credentials, but playing in a new league in pro football, it's not always that easy, and he needs a lot of work on his reading of coverages. He has to be more comfortable in delivering the football a little quicker. Sure, there's some good signs. He threw a great touchdown pass to Nigel Williams today. He ran the
76-yarder. That was a beaut.
He ran the ball well when he had some opportunities. He has to run more. So it will be a long learning process, and you know, Jim Gilstrap and Jerry Keeling right there, you know they're going to stick with him. I think he definitely is their quarterback of the future. Don't forget Danny Barrett, you know, but next year, you know, Danny Barrett will be back, so who knows what's going to happen. But It's not that easy.
Injured San Antonio Texan down. It's Tom Gerhardt, the left side linebacker. He's had a couple of fumble recoveries this afternoon. Here's how they stack up, and there's not much of a comparison here. Archer for 356 yards, double what Andre Ware was able to get, and double in the touchdown total, and one interception less. So it's been David's afternoon and not Andre's.
I think Tom Gerhardt just took a pretty good shot right in the chest. You're going to see right there, boom. It's the elbow of Michael Richardson, and right in that area right there, you'll see, boom, it's kind of a head popper there, maybe in the jaw, a bit of a knockout punch. The way Tom Gerhardt's walking off the field, a little groggy, I think he did take it in the jaw and kind of stung him.
.2:15 to go.
And Ray Alexander still has not caught a ball today. Kind of surprising.
Maybe Garza will look his way this time. Strother gets the call. Dion Strother.
So at the conclusion of this game, we will send you directly to the Buick Open. Fred Funk, the current leader in the third round, immediately following the football game this afternoon. So you folks that are tuning in, hoping to see some golf, it'll be coming up momentarily.
From Callaway Gardens in Georgia on the PGA Tour. With 1:53 to go now. Garza at the controls for the Ottawa Rough Riders. And he's got Jay Christensen out near midfield. 16-yard gain.
Now the Bounty Hunters have really been doing it to teams of late. 7 touchdowns has been the contribution they have made to the overall team.
Garza again on target. Christensen stepping out of bounds.
He delivered a pretty good blow on Jason Wallace there. Not too many times the receivers get to dish out some punishment, but Jay Christensen dipped that right shoulder, and he really knocked Jason Wallace right on his tush.
Wallace had an interception earlier today.
Second down, 47.
Winnipeg Blue Bombers with a big win over Hamilton yesterday to stay alive and back to even with Saskatchewan in points, setting up a pretty good game for the Rough Riders at home tomorrow, hosting Baltimore to try and get a win ahead of Winnipeg. One of 3 games on. BC at Edmonton as well, and that's a big battle for second spot in the North Division, with Shreveport in Birmingham as well. So North Division or South Division standings look like this as a result of San Antonio's victory here today. The Texans are now 9-5, and that's 2 wins in breathing room ahead of Memphis and Birmingham there. So there's a big win for Kay Stevenson and company. Garza to the far side. Alexander has his first catch of the day. He's inside the 40 at the 38. Just 1:19 to go. Talking about the North Division standings, the race looks to be between Edmonton and BC for second spot, and in that series, leave home field has not been much of an advantage for BC and Edmonton.
Well, I tell you, Edmonton played a flawless game last week when they beat the Lions at BC Place, and we'll see if they can come up with that same kind of effort.
But the Lions have had decent success at Commonwealth Stadium of late, winning 5 of the last 7 times they played in Edmonton. So they're playing for home field advantage in the playoffs, but home field doesn't mean too much to these 2 teams head to head.
You'd never give it up, though, if you had the chance.
No, not if you have the opportunity. Odessa Turner, the intended receiver, and Garza was off the mark again. Will Height covering there in the San Antonio secondary. Ottawa Rough Riders lead the Canadian Football League in only 1 offensive category, and that's in kickoff return yards. That's not the one you want to lead in, right?
No, that usually means a lot of bad things have happened when you lead in kickoff returns.
It means a lot of teams have scored touchdowns on you folks, and they've been kicking off and kicking off. Garza takes it down. He's not noted as a runner. He's finally dragged down by Mo Miller. With 58 seconds to go, it's 49-14 San Antonio.
Let's go, baby. It's all done now.
It tells a lot of the story. 508 yards, mostly engineered by this guy, David Archer. This will tell you part of the story as well. Turnovers. The Michael Richardson fumble just before halftime really took the wind out of Ottawa's sails, although they came back out and scored a touchdown to start the third quarter.
Well, I think, too, though, that touchdown in the third quarter, San Antonio went right back down and scored one of their own. And
Troy Mills' big play, yeah.
Ottawa just couldn't keep that gap closed long enough to really make a game of it.
Texans are 1st and 10. Saunders has the ball. And Brett Young is there to take him down with 51 seconds till full time. It's been a bit of a scrappy game, and markers are down again.
Brett Young took a pretty good swing at somebody. And this is where, if you're San Antonio, you just keep your nose clean and get this one over. And don't get in any mix-ups. You know, Ottawa's probably got to have a short fuse right about now, and Brett Young certainly is one of those guys with the short fuse. If you're San Antonio, you just walk away and get this one over, get on that charter, and go back to Texas with a nice 2 points.
Defense should be smiling. 13 turnovers in the last 2 games. Throw in 5 more today. That's 18 turnovers in 3 games for the Texans.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. San Antonio, number 32. Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Number 23, Ottawa. Replay the down, first down.
Want to see if they slugged each other and how hard?
Well, here, watch. Here's the in the back. Now it gets better. Now it gets better. There's one shot. Now you're going to see another one. Okay, here comes the right lead.
Poor Al.
He's loading it up. He's loading it up. Brett Young, he's loading it up. Whoa.
Al McCollum, the head referee, is right in the middle down there.
Al
lost the lid.
Yeah. Yeah, he's come. There it goes. There you go. Here's the hat. Woo! Al, you get out of that. That's like a little shrub in the big forest.
Well, you're talking about Al, or you're talking about
Brett? About Al.
Yeah. Well, mercifully, this is going to come to an end in 51 seconds. Jim Kemp out at midfield. He's got another strike. Mark Stock has had a pretty impressive afternoon. 17 yards for Stock there, 1 touchdown earlier.
There's Rohan Marley. He's not in the lineup today. The fellas are jamming down at that one end of the field.
He wears number 1 when he gets to play. He's quick, but a lot of people don't think he's big enough to be a linebacker in this league.
Not enough lead in the pants there to play linebacker at 185 pounds.
27 seconds and counting. Kemp for Kittrick Taylor, and Ricks had him wrapped up.
Pass complete to Taylor. Mark Ricks brings him down.
Well, the Ottawa Rough Riders are dropping to 2 wins and 12 losses as a result of another tough afternoon. That's 7 straight losses. San Antonio Texans improved to 9-5, and that's 5 straight wins. So Kay Stevenson really has things rolling for the Texans down there at the Alamo Dome and on the road as well. This should be it. Final play of the ball game. Tony Burse gets the call. Flag drops, and they're waved in a circle. Kay Stevenson, a chance to celebrate another victory, and that has to be a bit of a record for Stevenson in the Canadian Football League. 5 straight wins. Gilstrap has 7 straight losses.
Fans, don't forget the
no contest in Ottawa today. The Riders beat 49-14.
Texans basically have their way with the Ottawa Rough Riders by virtue of the victory. The Texans now improved to 9-5 on the year. They've won 5 straight football games for Kay Stevenson. The Ottawa Rough Riders are now 2-5. 12 on the season. The game story, Texans quarterbacks, 5 touchdown passes. Really was a strong game by David Archer. Mills and Saunders, 237 total yards on the ground. They are arguably one of the best tandems in the league. And turnovers, San Antonio 1, Ottawa 5. Our next game comes to you a week from today. We will take you to Shreveport, the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Bjorn Nitmo, will he be smiling? We'll see. October the 7th. It's a 5 o'clock start Eastern time. That'll do it for us this afternoon. Thanks for watching. Once again, have yourself a good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Bye-bye.